What is up, everybody? You caught me organizing fence signs, if we're being honest. Welcome back, fence fam. So glad to see you guys. As I said in the comments, it's been a little bit since I've seen you, but it's good to be back in the studio chatting with you guys. It's weird. You take a couple weeks off from videos, and then you sit down in front of a video camera, and it feels a little different. Still got to get back into the groove of things. But tell you what, let's say hi to everybody. Let's say hi to Roger, because Roger has been waiting incredibly patiently. He posted this half an hour ago. He's been waiting. Roger, thank you so much, buddy. Good to see you in the chat. Roger's got a good point. Happy Father's Day to all the dads out there. It's coming up tomorrow. Listen, we talk about this all the time, right? But where does the time go? Like everyone says it. And at first, there for a while, I was like, oh, yeah, it's just something people say. No, yesterday we're having a team meeting yesterday afternoon. So got back into town yesterday midday, came on into the office just to see how things were going and kind of keep up with what was going on and check in with some folks. Anyway, team meeting yesterday afternoon. And I was like, wait a minute. Is Father's Day Sunday? Like, yeah. This Sunday? Yes. Okay. All right. So we lost about a week in my mental schedule. So anyway, here we are. Roger's exactly right. Happy Father's Day. Grunt Works Home Improvement. Hello to yourself. Hey there. Appreciate you showing up. From Oswego. Oh man, I hope I said that right. Illinois. Oswego. Welcome, Grunt Works. Hello again, Roger, giving us a wave. Guys, there's 13 of you here. I appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in. First things first, if you like this content, give it a like. One of the meetings we had, actually this wasn't yesterday, this was before we left, but was with kind of the creative team, right? The folks that are responsible for the behind the scenes on the YouTube. And one of the things we've noticed is when we ask for likes, content gets more likes. I know it seems crazy, but it's reality. We looked at videos. We went back over the last year and checked out the videos that did well with likes, and it's the videos I asked for likes. And then when I stopped asking for likes, because here's the thing, I like watching the comments to get a feel for what you guys, the feedback you guys are giving me on the content. And some of the feedback was like, listen, we don't need to hear about like and subscribe every single time you do a video. We get it. We'll like it if we want to like it. I'm paraphrasing, but that's basically it. So we stopped with the, guys, if you like it, give it a like. If you're new here, be sure to subscribe. And when we do subscribe, be sure to hit that bell line. So we stopped doing it. I was like, you know what? Maybe they're right. Maybe the people, know what's going on better with YouTube than the team does. Anyway, we saw a decline in subscribers per video and a decline in likes per video. So, moving forward, the line's getting back in there. Guys, if you find that content helpful, useful, heck, even if been a little bit since I've said it. Heck, if you find it even a little bit entertaining, give it a like. Also, if you're new here, be sure to subscribe. And when you do subscribe, hit that notification bell so that YouTube lets you know each and every week when we have new content available. There you go. It wasn't so bad. It's kind of like riding a bike. A little rusty at first, right? Third try was correct. Take forever. I'll be honest with you. I don't remember what the third try was, but I'm glad that one of them was correct. Next time I'm up in Illinois, I have to check you out. Walter's with us. Walter, hello from the Great White North. Wally from Ottawa, Canada. Welcome, Wally. Good to see you. Hey, Wally, how did those I seem to remember, gosh, this has been, a month and a half, 2 months ago? It's been a while ago. You had mentioned you bought a bunch of the Post Saver sleeves, and we're going to use them on a project. How'd that turn out for you? I'd love to hear some real-world, reaction, right, from someone who maybe isn't a fence contractor. I'd like to hear kind of the more DIY side of it. Let me know how it worked out for you. USA, the whole country. Lost my dad 2001. Time goes by fast. Love your channel. I'll be putting up my own fence soon. Absolutely. And if we can help, if I can help, or anyone in the chat can help you, drop a comment. We'd love to help you. Sorry to hear about your dad. Sorry to hear about that. That's got to be tough to go through. So I lost my granddad. So my granddad started our fence company, him and his brother-in-law, back in 1955. So he was obviously, the pivotal role in this fence company, getting it up off the ground and really responsible for me sitting here today, right? We lost him, 4 years ago, I guess. Yeah, time flies. So anyway, we're not bringing the show down, but I'm sorry for your loss. David Olson, Madison Fence Company or Madison, Wisconsin. Hello, Madison Fence Company. First year in business and loving it. Thanks for your content. David, you're very welcome. It's when me and the YouTube team or we don't call them the YouTube team, the creative team, sit down and chat about, what we want this channel to be, what direction we want it to go, right? We talk about roadmaps a lot, where we want to go and how we're going to get there. We talk about what is the channel? What is the purpose of the channel? What kind of content are we creating? That sort of thing. And one of the segments of our industry, the fencing industry, I really want to help, I'm passionate about helping, is the new contractors, right? The new fence guys that, and maybe not new, but new to business, right? We're seeing that now. We've seen it for years, but more so in the last couple years, you're seeing more fencing professionals step out away from working for a company and starting their own business. And there is a pretty large difference between being a craftsman and being a business owner, right? So these guys and gals build incredible fence, but building a fence is a lot different than running a business. There's infinite amount of things that are just different. Accounts receivable and payable are two of the biggest things. Where does the money come from? Where does it go? How do we keep some of it so we keep the lights on and we keep building fence, right? So, David, honestly, you represent one of the segments I really, really want to help out. I want to make sure we make a good impact on you guys because a rising tide raises all the ships, right? So if we can help out the new guys and gals or new to business guys and gals, then I really think our industry will be better for it, right? We'll be building a better foundation for future fencing industry. So I say all that to say, David, if I can help you in the future, please don't hesitate to reach out, drop a comment, send me an email. Yeah. Like I said, if you're not behind a camera for a couple of weeks, your tongue gets a little tied. Anyway, shoot me an email. I'd love to help. I'd love you shooting me the email or leaving me a comment. One, I get to help you, and that really makes me feel good. Two, it lets me know what content I should be creating in the future for more guys and gals just like you. David, appreciate you showing up. I really do. Chris Steele says, live from Pensacola in the tropical storm. Chris, you should be battening down the hatches. You should be taking cover. No, maybe not taking cover, but definitely battening down. All your hatches should be battened down. You should be doing that. I don't know how to batten down a hatch because here in Missouri we don't have hurricanes. We just hide in the basements. But, yeah, you should be doing that. Hope everything goes well, Chris. I really do. Yeah, you and I should chat about Pensacola area. So let's say hi to a few more people, and then we'll recap where in the wild world of fence Joe's been for the last week and a half. Actually, some of you already know the answer because you saw me about a week and a half ago. But, all right. Walter says, Fence Saw since 1976, largest fence construction company in our area. Great results so far with post savers. A couple hundred of the thousand we brought in. Wally, I tell you what, I'll be honest. I didn't realize since 1976, largest fence construction company in your area. Well, then I hope I didn't give disrespect by saying I'd like to hear it from the DIY perspective. Obviously, you are not in the DIY crowd, but you're in the fence installation crowd. So, or the professional contractor crowd. Let's say that. Yeah, so I've heard good results from the fence contracting crowd. I'm glad to hear that you're having good results as well. I'm really curious from like the homeowner DIY perspective, but yeah, I'm glad to hear you've used a couple hundred of them and have had good results. If we still did wood post, if you guys watched the live, I had it's been a month and a half. That's always kind of my measurement, I guess. The last month and a half. Anything that's not recent, it was about a month and a half ago, apparently. But But we were talking post savers, and I said then that if we installed wood post, I'd be using the post savers. I'd jump on the post saver train in a heartbeat, because I've talked to other fence guys like yourself, like Wally, that are pretty substantial size that use it and love it. So unfortunately or fortunately, depending on which side of the coin you look at, we only install steel post, the Postmaster Plus. Now, I fully understand there are other brands out there that are purpose-built steel posts, but yeah. Kenny Dugan, happy Father's Day to you. How's baseball going? Kenny, this started out so well. So what Kenny's talking about is my baseball Cardinals. Not my Cardinals. They don't. But I feel like they're my team, right? Okay. Rough start right out of the gate. It's what, and then a lot of people would kind of, maybe make excuses, say, hey, it's a rebuilding year. Not going to do it. It's a rough year. There's no way about it. I mean, and that's just what we're going to say. This isn't our year, which, all right, we're not, I was going to say something about the Cubs because they're our rival, but this channel, we keep it positive. I'm not even going to make the comment where I was going to say that we've won more World Series than the Cubs have even, played it, but we're not going to say that. We're going to say it's a rough year. So in Springfield, Missouri, which is where I'm located, we've got the AAA affiliate of St. Louis Cardinals, the Springfield Cardinals. It's not going much better here. So the whole organization is figuring itself out. Dan Blanc says, Joe, it's a little windy here in New Orleans. Send help. I would imagine so, Dan. I bet it's very windy right now down in New Orleans. So I tell you what, talk about a place that can't catch a break. Seems like that Gulf Coast area around New Orleans just seems to get hammered every single year. If I had any help in my pocket, I'd send it to you, Dan. But if you guys are watching, if you fence guys are in any of the fence groups, you've seen Dan's content. Dan uses a Postmaster Plus post, or they've got a lifetime warranty, wind load rate up to 73 miles an hour for a 6-foot privacy fence. I'm not sponsored by them. I just like to talk about them because it's a good product. But Dan's using those. So Dan's fences are going to be in good shape. Michael Taylor, what is up? Caleb's on the way. So, absolutely. I should have said that in the beginning. In the title, it says, live Q&A with the stainless steel expert, Caleb Roth. Well, Caleb's having a little bit of technical difficulty. So, down here, like you guys can't see it, but for me, it's like down there. I get windows here that show who's here, like who's waiting to come on the show and stuff like that. And I see Caleb in there. Going back and forth. So I'm waiting for things to kind of even out over there. And then we'll bring them on. What can you do? I mean, what can you do? I don't know. They did win a World Series, like somewhat recently. So, But listen, I feel I don't want to lump you into the Cubbies if you're not a Cubby, but I feel the Cubbies' pain this season with our record now, because I don't think we're going anywhere in the offseason. We've got to really turn the ship pretty hard. We got to cut towards a winning record here pretty quickly, or else we're going to sit this offseason out. Oh, well, that just took a turn. Well, I apologize, Kenny. So I tell you what, I should have brought it up here. Kenny Duke, thank you, sir, for the baseball bat holders. So Kenny sent, I mentioned, it might have been on my personal Facebook actually. So you guys might not have seen it, but so my son's playing t-ball, and the shirts are not orange. So I took a picture of me wearing one of these shirts and said, hey, the things we do for our kids or something like that. And I said, next year in my coaching contract, there's going to be some verbiage in there that says the team colors are orange. That's just all there is to it. Unfortunately, most of the teams are orange where we live. So Republic, Missouri, which is where I live, the city colors are orange and black because they're the Republic Tigers. So all the teams are orange, or most teams are orange. So anyway, but Kenny, I'm sorry. I went off on a whole tangent. You can tell where my mind's at with baseball. Right, I'm not happy about baseball right now, but T-ball is going well. Unfortunately, we've had one game. We've had a bunch of weather in our past. And what we're saying here from here on out, it's going to be good weather, going to be smooth sailing. But in the past, we've had a bunch of rainy weather. I've coached all of one T-ball game. And that game, a bit hectic, we'll say. So what it is, it's my 3-year-olds on the T-ball team, and I was elected to be one of the coaches. There's not much involved with being a T-ball coach other than just like shuttling kids around, right? And I take my dad's line when I say it's a lot like herding cats. You're just trying to get all the kids going in the same direction, like chase the ball, pick up the ball, throw it to first. Maybe. They usually don't throw it to first. So here's what happens. One of these kids will hit the ball. Then all the kids chase the ball, including the kid that just hit the ball. He's chasing the ball too, or she. It's a co-ed team. So they want the ball. Well, so then you're trying to get the batter to run to first, but they don't want to run first because they want to get the ball because they were told, go get the ball when the ball gets hit. Anyway, Kenny, it's going well. It's going well. Thank you, sir, for sending us the bat holders. I really appreciate that. Next week we're going to have one next week on next week's live. I'm going to have one up here because they look spectacular. Thank you, sir. Amen. All right, guys. Where in the wild world of fence has Joe been? Why has there not been a live and Ask an Expert live for the last couple of weeks? Right, this is the first one. Last 2 Saturdays, couple of weeks. Haven't been here. So, 2 weeks ago, we were in Lincoln, Nebraska. Waverly, Nebraska. Let's be clear, Waverly, just outside Lincoln, at Empire Netting and Fence. Matt was gracious a very gracious host and hosted the fence installation school up there at his operation. And I'm telling you what, guys, if you have the chance to go to any sort of event that Matt and Empire put on, you should go. I mean, the facility itself is amazing. So I took a few of our team up from here at Ozark Fence. So I took Sarah, who runs our residential division, and I took up Scott, our crew chief, on one of our in-house crews. And we just learned fence. We learned all things fencing. So we got to have a dual experience, I guess. So the fence installation school was it was a 2-day installation school where we split into 2 teams. Our team had chain link the first day, supposed to have vinyl the second day, and then one team had vinyl the first day, was supposed to have chain link the second day. Second day, biggest windstorm I've ever been in my life, dust storm. It was dust, dirt, but it was blackout. I mean, the winds kicked up. It was a massive storm. We all had to retreat back over to Empire, so we didn't get to do the vinyl. But that's okay because we got a full day of chain link installation. So the fence installation school, guys, like I said, if you have the opportunity, to visit Empire, you do it. Regardless of what it is. If there's an event there, you go because it is an impressive operation that Matt runs. Matt and his team. He is very clear that it's his team that runs that place. But from the installation content, if you get a chance to go to installation school, fence installation school, you go. AFA puts it on. It's this was one of they're doing multiple on the road trainings. They're doing that. I believe Tony had said they had 2 or 3 more yet this year, where they're basically taking their installation school on the road. So they're going to take it throughout the country because they recognize that sometimes it's just not feasible to get to Texas or wherever they're having the annual fence installation school. So they do a condensed version, a 2-day version on the road at different locations throughout the United States. So this one was in Waverly, and they focus on chain link and vinyl. Now, if you guys know my story, you know that I've done fence since I was a kid, right? So it was probably 11. I was probably 11 or 12 when my dad woke me up that first summer morning after school is out, summer's here. I got all the plans with my buddies. And then my dad wakes me up and says, guess what? You're coming to work. So 11 or 12. So I've done fence for quite a while. I built quite a lot of styles of fence. I don't want to say I've built all the fence because I haven't built agricultural. I don't have experience in that. I mean, there's fences I haven't built. Built a lot of chain link. So it's funny how you see the fencing industry cycle through fence styles, or at least our market. Like each market seems to cycle at its own schedule. At the time when I was a kid helping install this fence, chain link was the style. We did a ton of 4-foot galvanized chain link. and then it went to brown or black coated. It went brown coated chain link for quite a while, then went to black. Black's always kind of been a thing, I guess, but we did a lot of black there for a while. And then we morphed into wood. So right now our market is predominantly 6-foot privacy fence. Some 6-foot shadow box. No one loves it, but some of the HOAs require shadow box fence. The theory being it looks the same on both sides. All right. So I say all that to say I've installed a lot of chain link, but went to the fence installation school. I went there thinking that it was just going to be more of a refresher, kind of brush up on my skills, make sure that I'm not as rusty as I'm afraid I might be. And it was incredibly impactful. Watching Tony. Well, so here's the thing. So Tony Thornton, executive director of the American Fence Association, was our instructor for chain link. You want to talk about a guy with some knowledge and experience? Tony is that guy. So he was the one teaching the course. But what was fun is, so Tony was heading up the course, and he had some help. But what was neat is there were some guys, other guys in the group. So Sean King was in the group. Oh, man, I shouldn't start naming names because I know I'm going to forget somebody, and I apologize. But Sean King was there, Tony was there. My guy Scott was pretty helpful. My crew chief Scott. I mean, there was just a lot of guys there. Empire themselves had several guys in the group going through fence installation school that are also incredibly helpful. So you got to see not only was Tony giving his experience, but you're also learning from 5, 6, 7 other professionals that have done this for quite a while, brushing up their skills. But not only was it brushing up skills, it was also taking little golden nuggets that other guys have used and other guys have perfected and applying them to our situation. So me and the team kind of chatted that evening about how impactful it was to go through the fence installation school. Scott had the same opinion. So Scott, obviously, as one of our crew chiefs, is still on the crew, still building fence. We still build some chain link, predominantly wood, but some chain link. But even being a current installer, current installation professional, he still picked up 2 or 3 little tips and tricks. We were like, oh, okay, I think we could speed this up. If you shave off, I don't know, a minute, 2 minutes per hookup, per job, you're talking about some real time at the end of the week. So we all had a blast with that. Now Sarah runs our residential division, right? So she's our client experience officer. And one thing, so she does the proposal. She also does project management. She kind of sees it start to finish. And I really wanted her to be there so that she could see and participate in the installation side of it, right? Because I think we all need to cross-train. We all need to be proficient at each step of the way so that if needed, we can each step in, help complete jobs. But also gives her a better perspective when looking at a job, from the sales side and saying, okay, well, I do remember when we were talking about hills, we talked about bias cuts. We actually performed a couple bias cuts. I remember A, what that was like, and B, how long it took to do a bias cut as compared to just a standard hookup. So, know to bid in a little bit more time, a little bit more time and effort into that. So anyway, if you guys get the opportunity to go to fence installation school, I would recommend you do. There's a discount for AFA members, but also it's open to non-members as well. So you can certainly come in one way or the other, whether you're a member or not. I suggest being a member. The discount makes it worth it, but to each their own. Got a comment here. Wedgwood says, "Hi Joe, how's timber price over there? Here in the UK, a 16-foot 2x4. The 16-foot 2x4 is about $32. That's incredible." I was going to ask what type of wood it is, but irregardless of what type of wood it is, that's expensive. So we don't buy 16-footers, so we buy 8-footers. But by doing some quick math in my head, we're under $20, right? Under $20 for a 16-footer. So $32 seems a bit excessive. Now, timber prices themselves, we're seeing them come down. We're seeing lumber prices slowly decline. And when I say slowly decline, I do mean slowly decline. But they're coming down sooner than I thought they would. If you guys tuned in a few lives ago, we were chatting about we were just chatting about when I thought that would happen. I mean, nobody has a crystal ball. That's the thing. I mean, at best, we're all guessing about it. Now, stay tuned, because in the coming weeks, Tony Thornton, again, executive director of the FA, is coming on to talk about the state of the industry, specifically the state of the material supply in the fencing world. So we're going to talk a little bit more in depth with Tony. Tony, the nice thing about being in his position with the AFA is he gets to have conversations on both sides of the coin, right? The suppliers, the mills, the loggers, that sort of thing, but also the contractors. He's kind of the liaison between the two. But we're going to have him on and just talk about the state of the industry. But when we're talking about timber prices, coming down slowly. And like I said, ahead of schedule. I really thought it was going to be third quarter or fourth quarter, first quarter. Fourth quarter 2021, first quarter 2022 that you start seeing a slow a decline in prices. Mainly because what I thought would happen would be you would see, demand slacken, demand wane. Guys, pause. If this is laggy on your guys' end, let me know. So my screen, like every 30 seconds or so, gets kind of laggy, which is surprising because we upgraded to gigabit internet here and it shouldn't be laggy at all. Let me know what you guys see on your end. But anyway, I really thought it'd be fourth quarter, first quarter, because demand was going to slacken and hopefully supply could catch up with demand. And then you would see pricing come back down to earth somewhat. But it's happening a little bit sooner. So I'm glad to see that. Doubled over the last 6 weeks and going up 10% per week still. So lately, in the last month, I'm trying to think back. We had a 25% increase 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago. My timeline in my head's all messed up because vacation got in there and threw my mental calendar all off. But we had 25% increase. Alta Lumber had 25% increase. I want to say 3 weeks ago, maybe a month ago. Since then, we haven't, knock on wood, we haven't got an increase since then. So sounds like you guys are still getting increases. It'd be interesting to see. I'm trying to think of the timeline on the pandemic. So you guys experienced the pandemic before we did, if I remember correctly. So it's interesting to see that you guys are still having that. Now, so here's the rationale that we're being told. Now, is it right? Is it wrong? Is it true? I don't know. I don't have a lumber mill. I don't know. What they're saying now is it's a supply line issue. So because what happened was the mills were saying, hey, we're doing the best we can. This stuff's just expensive. We're trying our best for you to get you the best prices. Well, then the loggers stood up and said, wait a minute. We're not getting paid any more for the logs. So we're getting paid the same amount now that we were pre-pandemic. Any increase that you guys are seeing on the retail end is coming from the mill. I mean, we've got the loggers, the mill, and then the retail customers. So now what the mills are saying is, well, it's actually a supply line issue. So it's, we don't have as many people to produce it, the lumber still. And once we get it produced, we don't have the supply line, the tractor trailers, the trains available to transport this thing effectively, cost effectively. So that's where some of the increase is coming in. So, supply line is going to vary, obviously. Supply line varies regionally here in the United States, much less country to country. Across the pond, I have no idea what your guys' supply lines are like. What I learned through talking. So if you guys checked out the live interview I did with David and Stevie with D&J Projects in Nottingham, we all learned that things are quite a bit different over there. Not better or worse. Well, look. I'm not going to say not better or worse because they do things better. Concrete posts and those grabber trucks. I'm still obsessed with these grabber trucks, guys. I am. So anyway, a little bit better. But anyway, it's different, right? So we talked about the price of fuel. Holy cow. You guys are 2 to 3 times more expensive for fuel, whether we're talking about what we would call just regular unleaded gasoline or diesel, 2 different types of fuel. But you guys are twice, 2-3 times what we are in fuel. So I don't know. Things are different. Now, one thing, too, about being in the UK is everything gets shipped in via boat, too. So here in the States, we're fortunate in that the supply lines are all over land, right? We're not worried about shipping, trying to get things to us. It's literally either on a semi-truck, what we would call a semi-truck, what you guys would call, I believe, an articulating truck, or articulating trailer, Arctic truck. Arctic truck. I need to talk to David again. I think he said Arctic truck. Anyway, articulating trucks or train. Those are two modes of transportation largely used. Now, you can't talk about sea freight when we're talking about the JPC, the Japanese cedar. Someone was talking about some Chinese cedar, which I'm not sure if it was actually Chinese cedar, or if it was actually the JPC product. Anyway, that obviously does come in via ship, but largely when we're talking about pressure treated pine, cedar, western red cedar, incense cedar, white cedar, or redwood, those are all over land routes. So not so familiar with how sea freight impacts the price of fence. David Matute, man, I hope I said that right, David. Hey, Joe, just wanted to say I enjoy your videos. I'm a fence contractor in North Carolina. Like to see how installation vary from company to company. Absolutely. What part of North Carolina are you from? So I was actually born outside Raleigh in a city called, or town. At that time it was a town. It's probably a city called Cary. So I spent the first 10 years of my life in Cary, North Carolina. So got a lot of good memories from North Carolina. Same question. We have trouble obtaining vinyl fencing. I've not been able to install vinyl since the pandemic started. So, yeah, I mean, it's taking longer to get in. Well, I say it's taking longer to get in. We don't do a lot of vinyl. Let me start this conversation there. And when we do vinyl, it's typically a 6-foot white privacy is what we see in our market. We don't see a lot of color. I mean, almond or the wood grain color. We don't see a lot of textured. Again, so some of the companies offer a wood grain color and wood grain texture. We don't do a lot of it. So when we do, it's white 6-foot privacy. So that we're not having trouble getting it in. We're having trouble getting it in a timely manner. So 4 to 6 week lead time is pretty standard. But like I said, I preface that to say we're not ordering a ton of it. We're not ordering truckload quantities of it. So that conversation might be different. We're also not trying to order in almond or brown or taupe or clay or whatever custom color, whatever the different suppliers call their unique colors. So 6-foot privacy white, not hard to get in. You just got to wait for it to get to you. The other colors, I'm not really sure. But when I talk to other guys that do install vinyl fencing, it definitely sounds like it's hard to get in. It's either hard to get in or it's not available. So like a lot of the wood grains, the vinyl manufacturers aren't making wood grain from what I've heard. Benson, Johnson County. Very good, very good. I'll have to admit, I don't know where that is. Like I said, we left North Carolina when I was 10. So, I mean, I knew the towns. I actually don't even remember which county. I mean, 10-year-olds aren't really up to date with the counties in the states. I don't even know what county Raleigh's in, the Raleigh-Durham area. But, all right. So, we went to, week and a half. All right, 2 weeks ago. Today's Saturday. 2 weeks ago. We're in Lincoln, Nebraska, Waverly, Nebraska, doing fence installation school. We also got to have, so like I said, it was a 2-for experience. The main experience that we were there for was a fence installation school. But we also got to have kind of a sneak peek behind the scenes of Empire Netting and Fence, Matt's organization. And I'm telling you what, one, their building facilities are top-notch. I mean, they have a beautiful facility, beautiful location. But two, also, Matt and Rachel both. Actually, so Rachel took me on the tour of the building first, kind of outlined how the building was set up. And when you do a tour of Empire, you get a sense of not only how the building is set up, but how the company is set up, right? Because you see who's near who's separated, what divisions are separated, what divisions are together, how the offices are laid out, how the fabrication shop's laid out. You get a sense for the company too. And Matt and Rachel both were complete open books. I can't tell you how many conversations I had. We were there 3 days and had, I don't know, a couple dozen good conversations with Matt, Rachel, also a couple of the other, Jamie there on the team, had really good conversations with pretty much anyone you wanted to at Empire on how do you run your business, how do you solve for this problem that I'm having right now, and what problems are coming up that I don't know about that you've experienced, and how can we get through them. Everyone was an open book. Matt was so giving with his time. Rachel and Jamie both. I mean, everyone was giving with their time. But Matt codenamed this project Operation Epic. If you guys were at Stain and Seal University there in Nashville earlier this year, you heard Matt talk. And one of the things he said, one of his golden nuggets he shared out was the big, hairy, task you need to accomplish. They give it code names because code names just, again, make it feel like this big monumental task, but then you can break it into smaller segments, right? Fence Installation School was code named Operation Epic. And I tell you what, I think if you guys in the chat, if you guys are watching, went to Waverly over there at Empire and went through the Fence Installation School and got to tour Matt's facility, I think you would agree with me that it was absolutely epic. Whether we showed up Wednesday, so Wednesday afternoon, we missed the welding school, so they had welding school also Wednesday that we weren't able to attend. We showed up Wednesday afternoon, showed up at dinner time, honestly, and they had this entire spread of boiled shrimp. They had some hamburgers, which were from Matt's family's farm. The hamburger was incredible way to start the experience. The next night was steaks. Is that right? Thursday night? Nope. What was Thursday night? Thursday night was pizza. Right? I'm getting these confused. No, I think it was Thursday night was steak. Friday night was pizza. Now I'm getting all this confused. But holy cow, they fed us well. And it was all included in the fee. I mean, they didn't charge extra for additional meals. They didn't. And this was food that, especially the steak dinner night, I mean, you would pay $40 or $50 a plate for what they just provided for free. So it was an incredible experience. We were there. And then from there, so my family actually went ahead of me. So we left on Wednesday. On Tuesday, I dropped the family off at the airport. They flew out to Georgia, Augusta area, and to visit Taylor's sister and her sister's family. And then I went up to Fence Installation School on Saturday. I jumped on a plane to catch up with them, and we had family vacation last week. We kind of bounced between Augusta and Savannah. Beautiful, beautiful area. It was an incredible experience, and it was nice to have some downtime, some disconnect time, right? Just to spend time with the kids and family and all that. Jackson, my boy, he was over the moon. We found this kid, so he's 3. He's all about playgrounds. We found the best playground in Savannah, and he had an absolute blast. Flew back yesterday, midday. Let's talk a minute about flights. If you guys are flying anywhere, flight schedules are all sorts of messed up. Well, maybe just specifically on Delta. That's who we have points with. But, flights. So my flight from Omaha, Nebraska to Augusta was supposed to leave at 11 a.m., rescheduled to 7 a.m. Now, Omaha, from Waverly to Omaha was about a 45-minute drive. So that means I got up about 3 or 3:30 in the morning. I was free, and then took a shower, had a Uber pick me up at 3:30 so I could be there in enough time. I have this fear, this nightmare of being late and missing my plane. And I've never flown in or out of Omaha, so I didn't know. Which, it's a good thing we left early because the highway, the interstate between Lincoln and Omaha was shut down. The police had it shut down. So we had to back roads it over to Omaha, and it took a little bit extra time. Well, then the flight from Augusta back to Springfield with my family when we came back from vacation, that flight was supposed to be 9 a.m. I thought, okay, that's not bad. Get the kids up, get them in there. No, 7 a.m. flight. And again, we were about 45 minutes. We're outside of Augusta. We're over on the South Carolina side. So anyway, we were getting kids up at 4 in the morning and getting them to the airport. You can imagine what it's like having a 3-year-old that's been up since 4 a.m. He was a little testy yesterday afternoon. But anyway, to say all that to say, the flights got bumped up, so we got in ahead of time. Came on into work, had some team meetings, just did some general catch-up. Good day. Here we are, and we're back. So I keep seeing Caleb come in and out. So when Caleb comes back in, we will certainly bring him in. So guys, tell me how things are going in your market. Tell me how things, where are you guys seeing supply issues? So interesting in the one of the Facebook groups, someone had posted another price increase letter for Master Halco, but it must be a regional thing because so Dan Blanc was first to comment on it that he hadn't received it. Also, we hadn't received it. So our price increases always come in via email from our I don't want to say local branch. We're about 3 hours away, but the branch that services us always sends them via email. So I thought, well, maybe I missed an email. Went searched my email. Nope, the last one there was a few weeks ago. So it sounds like Master Halco in some regions of the United States have taken another increase, but maybe not all of them. So what are things like in your guys' neck of the woods? What are you guys seeing? Maybe not even so far as price, but are you seeing availability start to increase? You're seeing availability come back? I'd be interested to know about that. Yeah, how are things going in your guys' neck of the woods? I'm going to take a quick drink because I am parched. So, like I said, fence installation school, if you guys get the chance, you should go. We're planning on going back. So they're having another fence installation school at the Fall Fence Forum, which is kind of a twofer, what Sean would call a twofer, 2 for 1, where we get to go to fence installation school again. I'm going to try to take more of my team up there now that we've experienced what it is and I see the value in it. Not that I did see the value, but I wanted to take a small team with me for the first time just to get a feel for who on my team would benefit most from it. But now that I've seen what kind of incredible value there is in this program, we're going to try to take more of the team. We'll probably take Scott and Sarah again just so they can go through it another time, get more eyes on it. But I'd like to take more of the team. But the twofer here is also we get to attend the Fall Fence Forum. Now, this is something, if you guys haven't seen the Fall Fence, just Google Fall Fence Forum or YouTube search it. It'd be better because you want to watch the videos. There's a bunch of videos, not a bunch, but there's several videos out there on the Fall Fence Forums. It looks incredible. So it's when it starts. So the earlier videos I watched from several years ago it mainly revolved around ag fencing, which it still does. That's still a primary focus here is agricultural fencing. But last year, Sean King was involved in talking about additional types of fencing, chain link, vinyl, that sort of thing. So it's basically a fence installation school with a competition thrown in the middle of it. So it very worthwhile, and we're excited. All right, guys, I see Caleb coming back online. Let's bring him in and see what old Caleb's doing. Oh, Caleb, are you with us? Caleb's frozen. All right. Well, when Caleb comes back in, we'll see about if we can't get him back up and in here. So, guys, like I said, if you let me know how you guys are seeing things on your end. Also, if you have a question, drop them in the comments below. We'll certainly chat about anything and everything fence related. Let's think about what else is going on. So, fence installation school at Fall Fence Forum, we're in for. Also, so there's a few other schools coming about. So one of them that Tony and I talked about, actually I saw Luke comment about it first, is they're having an operations school, or they're putting together the curriculum for business operations school. So basically running the business office side of a fencing contracting company, which again, what I was talking about before is something I'm passionate about. You know, it's what's the word? So I don't know. It's sad. It's sad to see guys they're incredible craftsmen. You know, these guys are incredible at building quality fence, go out on their own and realize that the business office side of it has nothing to do with the craftsmanship side, the production side of building fence, right? So it's sales, it's finance, it's legal. There's a lot of different facets to running a business office side of fence contracting. And so you see guys and gals struggle. 3 to 5 years is a typical lifespan of a new fence company, a startup fence company. Typically what happens is these folks have worked at a fence company. They've got an incredible amount of experience. They've saved up enough to go out on their own. And it takes about 3 to 5 years to siphon down that savings and start taking money out of the family money, to pay bills and try to stay ahead of this and all that, until finally the significant other says enough is enough. You're working 80 hours a week. You're not bringing home money. In fact, the family is paying money to try to keep this thing afloat. We're done. We are done with this. Find something else to do. And unfortunately, that person is so then disenfranchised with the fencing industry. You've had such a bad experience that they leave the industry altogether, and we lose a craftsman from our industry. So it's why I'm passionate about trying to help people build better businesses, right? The business office side of it. We can talk about installation content, but there are a ton of guys in the industry right now that are putting out great installation content. Sean King, Mr. Fence, is a great example of that. For fence installation content, you should check out Sean's channel. I mean, I think he's up to good stuff. But that's why I'm passionate about helping the business office side of things. So when I saw Luke comment on it first, and then when I saw Tony at Fence Installation School, we chatted about it. I am so excited to go through, and two, try to help out however I can with the operations school side of it. I'm super stoked on that. It does appear that we have Caleb back. Let's see if we can make it stick. Caleb, how are you? We lost Caleb again. I'm guessing his internet might be in and out a little bit there. But anyway, so they're putting together, the AFA is putting together operations school. Actually, so the curriculum, I'm recalling my conversation with Tony. From what I remember, the curriculum is mostly done. Like the framework is there. They've been through a few revisions. So now they've made revisions. They sent it back out to the creators to try to just get their feedback on the changes made to the curriculum. And then they're going to send it on to the certifying agency. So one thing about the American Fence Association, as you guys know, they have multiple accreditations. Certified fence professional, certified fence contractor. There's a certified gate operator. I don't know. We don't do gate operators, so I'm not super familiar with that side of it. There's a gate design. There's a gate operator. There's different accreditations there for gate operators and gate installation. But all that accreditation is done through a third party, like a accreditation company. All they do is accreditation. So they have to, once they get the curriculum done, it has to be sent to the accreditation company or the organization that does the accreditation. So then they can create a standardized testing that can test the knowledge that is included in this curriculum, just to make sure that whoever is taking this test is proficient in whatever they're being accredited in. So super excited for that. All right. It looks like we might have Caleb back. Let us see. Caleb, how are you?
Oh, glad to be here.
How are you, sir?
My IT department, Ashley, has got us in gear and going. So thank God for her. We're back in business. Good to see you, Joe. How are you doing?
Man, I'm doing well. Just got back from vacation yesterday. We've been talking about it during the live. Good to be back.
Yeah, I can imagine. I think it's nice and sunny down in Georgia. Did you have a good time?
It is. Yeah, we did. It is just as warm in Georgia as it was when we were in Lincoln. It was 95 to 98, sunny, and Georgia has all the humidity. They had every bit of it.
Yep.
But yeah,
it was
good. Vacations are nice to unplug. It also lets you kind of reset mentally, right? Mm-hmm. And what it did for me, and I think it's this way for really all business owners or entrepreneurs, however you want to call it. Like your mind never really stops, right? So what I found myself, we're on the beach outside Savannah. Jackson's off playing in the sand, building sandcastles. I'm under an umbrella holding Josie and just watching the ocean, right? And my mind's going through like solving some problems, right? And maybe not problems, but inefficiencies. How can we do better? Like, I have some great ideas to talk to the team about when I get back. I was like, wait a minute. You are on vacation. You're on a beach with your kids, and you're thinking about like, what are you doing? But I mean, your mind never really turns off. But sometimes it takes that disconnect to really work through problems and find some solutions that you might not have found sitting in your office.
Yeah, I think you're right. I knew you really were disconnected when I saw you wearing a blue shirt on Facebook. So.
Yeah, so I was allowed to bring 2 orange shirts, and the rest of them were to be other colors. So yeah, there's a royal blue, there's a lime green,
Light orange. Is light orange still orange?
I was told yes, it is
Yeah.
in fact. But we were able to find some orange shirts while in Savannah and Augusta, so we brought some of those back, just so that not all my orange stuff is Ozark Fence or the Fence Expert orange. We had some orange from other people.
Good deal. Would you tell everybody about Nebraska?
How goes things in Nashville? How goes things at Stand Steel Expert?
It is going great. We've had sporadic blackouts of internet, here and in other places around. I don't know what's going on.
Sure.
Hopefully we get that fixed, but yeah, everything's good. It's hot. We've had a couple weeks or a week or so of dry weather. We've been running heavy and hot and producing staining fences and decks for folks and all as well.
Very good. I bet somewhere in your internet connection, somewhere down the line, there's a fence guy with an auger going, I don't know, there's no paint marks here. We're good to dig.
Yeah. The story of Seth Borg, in the bathroom. Yes, I need to do a one call and change the email to my address, please.
To my address. So what had happened in that story is this particular gentleman was in charge of locates on jobs. And the crew dug up a utility and they smashed it. And this guy was in charge of locates, and he didn't call in a locate on this job. So yeah, he ran to the bathroom real quick, jumped on his phone, started calling the locator and saying, I need this locate done really quickly, and send it to my email address instead of the company email address. That particular guy's father was on the other side of that bathroom door and heard that conversation. So that was one of the times this particular guy was released from that company.
Yeah.
And any of you that have worked for your fathers or worked with family know how that goes. There's usually a few parting of the ways before you end up coming back.
Yeah, that's the way it was in my fence family business a few times. But we always come back to the fence industry.
That's right. I mean, that's the hard part of working for family. We talked about this at Lincoln with some other family run operations, and you expect more, right? Both sides expect more from each other because it's family. Mm-hmm. And I don't know where this saying came from. I don't know who to credit it to, not me. But frustration is how's it go? Frustration is the result of unmet expectations.
Mm-hmm.
So both sides are expecting more from each other because they're family. And when those expectations aren't met, there is frustration.
Yeah.
And sometimes frustration is putting it mildly.
I agree with that. And at Staining University this year, you had a great talk with some other generational or family businesses. And one thing
we might have lost Caleb again.
Yeah. So can you hear me? Oh man. Am I back with you?
There you are.
Okay.
Yep,
so
you're with us.
At Staining University this year, you had a conversation with a group of guys there that were father-son, and the advice you gave them was to lay out a plan early. Dad may be in the business for another 20 years, but go ahead and lay out those steps to succession, how to move down the line. And that's going to give the son or the daughter or the nephew, whoever is next in line to take the reins, that's going to give them a goal. It's going to give them something to look forward to. We never did that in my family business. So I was just looking for a way out, because I was like, hey, I'm never going to run. I'll be 70 and my dad will be 90 and we're still going to be butting heads. So that's, the way it was. If we would have laid that groundwork, my future might have changed drastically.
Yeah. Well, and my story is the same, Caleb. I mean, we didn't have that conversation until it was time, right? Mm-hmm. Or until it was close to time. So, yeah, I wish, I think there could have been a lot of frustration avoided if we had that conversation 5 years previous to, when it transitioned. To say, Dad says, hey, and it could be just a general guideline, right? It could be just a 30,000 foot view of the roadmap on, Here's where I see it going. Here's where we are now. Here's how I think we're going to get there. What do you think?
Right. Yep.
I don't know. That's how it would make sense to me. I wish we had done that.
You always hear this.
Obviously for us, it worked out okay, but you see others that exit the industry from a family business that didn't have that experience.
Yeah. You hear this will be yours one day, and with no roadmap to it. So yeah, if you're a father-son outfit listening, start that conversation today.
100%. Yeah, because the question is, what's one day? Because again, you have two different expectations. The father says, one day is about 30 years from now, and whoever's on the other side, the son, daughter, nephew, whomever, is saying, well, this is probably like in the next couple of years. So they're working towards that. And then when a couple of years comes and goes, and they go, well, he's still saying like someday, like is that ever going to come?
Yeah, and I think we've all been around. This doesn't happen all the time, but I've seen family businesses where we'll just say the old man is 87 and the son's 62, and the son was never able to spread his wings because the old man's still running the show. And then once the old man finally exits, the son has no clue what to do because he was never able to grow that confidence of how to run a business. And now
and there's another generation behind now that is very disenfranchised because they see the generation above them just get in touch with it or just get transitioned into it, and they're like, well, all right, great, I've got another 30 years to go until he's going to be ready to transition.
Well, there was a family business around here, I think called Star Fence, and they were there was the original, and then the dad, the granddad, the dad, and then the son, and the son was probably 40. The dad was in his 60s, and the old man was, I guess, in his 80s. And they were still very tight in the company. But early on, the son had took over from the original father, and the transition was being made to the next son. And they were really tight. Young men need that older support. They need that around them, the old men to look up to, the old timers. And the way they did it seemed really nice. They stuck together. The dad stepped down earlier than most people thought and let the next son take it. Buddy was there the whole time to hold his hand and give that support.
Yeah. That's literally our story. So my dad handed it or sold it to me in 2016, so 5 years ago, much ahead of a lot of other companies' schedule. He's still he'll tell you he's old, but right now he's still a young guy. So to his credit, that's exactly what he did. Was he said, "Hey, I want to run this division. I want you to handle residential. I want you to handle day to day, and I just want to do commercial." And I said, "Okay, well, that sounds like me buying the business and you running the commercial division." And like any good dad, he said, "No, you're not listening. What I said was But we kind of hashed it out over a course of several months, and to his credit, is okay. All right, well, let's do this. Let's turn over the reins. But I want control on my division. That's fine. But like you said, he's still here to this day, and so some people use the term holding my hand as a negative connotation, but it's really not, right? It's really like, all right, I see where you're going. You're headed toward, I view this like my 3-year-old son. Like, he means well, but sometimes I'll see a curb coming. I'm like, oh, he's going to nosedive right off of this thing. It's going to hurt. Let me grab his hand real quick. Like, Jackson, see that curb? You got to slow down and you got to step down, or else you're going to fall and it's really going to hurt. My dad still does that to this day.
Yeah.
Everything is cyclical. It all runs in cycles.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, with this COVID deal, that's what I spent a lot of time doing this year with all the shortages and things. I'm calling guys who are in the industry who are 60 to 70 years old. Hey, tell me about other times when this happened. And the advice is great. The one advice I get, though, is, we've seen shortages. We've seen price increases. We've seen factory fires. We've seen all these things, but we've never seen them all at once. So they're kind of scratching their heads, too. But at least you know where you stand.
Right. That's the thing is, when you're talking to these guys, I'm sure the conversation goes like, well, you know what? This looks really familiar. It's different, but it looks really familiar with this, as compared to this other thing I went through.
Yeah, I
It's
think that's called
exactly
Gestalt, isn't it? Where you speak. So I'm in this EO group, entrepreneur organization, and you can't give advice, but you can tell a story of, how Ruben tells stories. So
Yeah.
Joe, you might say, I'm having an issue with, we stained a fence or we tried to clean an old stain off a fence and it didn't work or whatever. So this is happening. And then instead of me saying, well, what you should do, Joe, is this, and that'll fix your problem. You could say, well, I ran into a similar situation and what we did was this and this and this, and here was our result. And then you take away what you want from it. And it's a really good way, I think, to help somebody.
I like that a lot, Caleb, because sometimes when you hear advice, it's theory, right?
Yeah.
It's, well, if I were to do this, this is probably what I would do. But there's no real world. I mean, there's real world experience that influences the theory, absolutely. But yeah, by telling a story, here's actually what happened, and here's actually what I tried, and maybe the story is I tried this and it didn't work.
Well, so, you think about if we say, if somebody had, let's just say your son is taking over the business, my son's taking over my business, and it's 30 years from now, and we see things on the horizon much similar to COVID or shortages that we have now.
Yeah,
your inclination is to say, son, you better start stocking up on materials a year out. You better save cash. You better spend all this nest egg you've got saved and buy materials with it right now. Forget about the pontoon boat. Sure. And your son's going to be, and I know what I'm talking about. Trust me. Your son's going to think you're crazy. Yeah, right. I'm not going to do this. But if you say, we had something like this back in 2020, and here's what we did, and here's how it paid off. Yeah, I think it's a better way. Let them make the decision.
Yeah, here's the experience I had, and here's what I think the lesson is or was. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the thing. Yeah, Jackson's 3, so in 30 years, he's not. This won't be memorable to him. What we're going through now, he has no idea what's going on in the world around him. Yeah, so in 30 years, when there's some sort of something, and it might not even be a pandemic, it might, whatever. And you and I look at it and go, oh, I know what this is. Or I think I know what this is. This looks a lot like 2020 and 2021. Yeah, you need to sell off whatever assets you do not need if you don't have the nest. If you have the nest egg, just go buy material. But if you don't have the nest egg, sell whatever assets you can that you don't need, the pontoon boat, the beach house, whatever, and buy material, stockpile material. Think about it. If we had done that a year and a half ago, where would we be now?
You'd
piled up material.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah. So, anyways, that's why the old timers that lived through the Depression washed their aluminum foil and saved bacon grease, right?
That's right.
Never know when you're going to need that stuff.
That's the thing. My grandpa used to. So he would make sandwiches from the ends of the bread. I forget what you call that, but the
beginning of the bread. You got to be optimistic, Joe. Quit being so negative. That's the beginning of the bread.
The beginning of the bread. He would make sandwiches out of that, and he was like, "Listen, these are the 2 pieces of bread that nobody wants, that everyone gives away. So this is what I learned to like, this piece of the bread." So and now and when he was telling me this story, obviously he's gone now, but he's like, now I love these kind of sandwiches. So if you learn to love what other people don't like, you're going to be in a better position. I always thought, what? Why would you? That's the worst part of the bread. Yeah. Why would you want that? Now I'm like, you know what? There's something to this.
For sure.
But, and that's the thing is, I think that also can speak to something that's been on my mind lately, Caleb, and that's mentorship. Finding a mentor that has been where you are now and is successful. And that's, and you can, everyone's heard this advice, like this isn't new, right? That you are the sum total of the 5 people you surround yourself with, or whatever, however that thing goes. Yeah. Basically, if you surround yourself with successful people, more than likely you'll end up to be successful.
Yeah, if you hang out with 5 millionaires, you'll be the 6th one.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great way to put it.
If you hang out with 5 crackheads, you know the rest of the story.
Yeah, you're probably going to be one of the 6 ones. Yeah, that's right. And that's been on my mind lately too. really because just like you're reaching out to guys in the 60s and 70s, I mean, that's essentially what you're doing is you're asking for mentorship, right? You're saying, what have you learned? And here's the thing is, I think you'll find in lots of industries, I'm sure, but in our industry specifically, I think you'll find guys and gals that are willing to just be a complete open book. Mm-hmm. Here's exactly what we're doing. Here's how it's working. Here's maybe how it's not working as well, but here's what we're doing. Earlier on in the live, I was saying that when we were up in Waverly at Empire, Matt and Rachel and Jamie, the whole Empire crew were a complete open book. Mm-hmm. They were so freely giving of their time and knowledge and experience. And I was like, man, I tell you what really was going on in my mind was how can we scale this? Right? Because the conversation that I'm sitting in on right now, there's 100 people in the fencing industry that need to have this conversation. Yeah. Or could glean something from that conversation.
Yeah, I agree.
So it's, yeah. So I'm going to have Matt on here in the next little bit. We're going to kind of work together with our schedules to try to recreate that conversation. And ultimately, that's what I'm trying to do in a large part with these lives is, when I'm talking to you or when I'm talking to whomever, like I'm really asking questions that I want to know the answers to.
Yeah, that's the whole idea of our Staying in Sale Experts Facebook group and university. It's because I know that the questions I have, everybody else has them too. So let's work together and find the answer.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is a great way of scaling it because this is getting recorded. This will live for however long YouTube is alive for, right? It'll be out in the interwebs for generations to come.
Yep.
And so also let's talk about that, in that when we're saying, hey, when Jackson's 30 or 35 or whatever, now he's going to have this database, right, of experience and knowledge to go back and watch videos like this.
How cool would it be to go back and see your great granddad when he was in his 30s and see him in this? That'd be pretty neat,
Absolutely. And hear what his thought process was when going through, whatever situations. Yeah. Like right now. So I had Sean on a couple of weeks ago because like legitimately the growth point we're at right now is we need a project coordinator. Like that's something I see a need for in our business, in Ozark Fences business.
And what would be the top 5 tasks that that person would do?
The number one task, communication management. Making sure everyone that needs to be in a conversation is in that conversation. How many times do we duplicate conversations? Mm-hmm. The customer has a conversation with Sarah, who then has that conversation with Scott, who then has that conversation. Okay, if we could have one conversation and we're all in on it, or we're all brought into that conversation, just so that we know it happened, I think we're better for it. So that's
right.
Now listen, I wasn't alive for a switchboard operator, but I've seen movies that had them in it. So like, I think I get the gist of it. All they're doing is, okay, you need to talk to who? Okay, plug it in. You need to talk to who? Plug it in. I see them just plugging in people into conversations.
Yep.
Also, they're going to be responsible for locates. Like for us, it's Missouri One Call, but whatever line locator, utility locator, they're going to be responsible for that. Also permitting. So a lot of behind the scenes work that goes into pulling off a project flawlessly.
Yeah. So you're trying to free up your sales staff to make more sales.
Yeah. That's the thing. It's because Sarah that does our residential, she does everything, from start to finish. She's there. She takes it from quote tool all the way through 6-month follow up after we're done. Hey, how do things look? How can we be of service? That sort of thing. That's a long cycle.
That's a lot of work.
It is. It absolutely is, especially when you're going through, for our company, 5 or 6 projects a week right now. That's a lot of communication. I mean, that's a lot of moving pieces. So what we're trying to do is have someone responsible for the behind the scenes but also, like I say, be plugging people into conversations. If there's an email that comes in, it gets forwarded to, the email chain. The conversation gets forwarded to 3 or 4 people. That way, I mean, they don't necessarily need to participate in the conversation, but they can read through it and know it happened. And that conversation goes in that person's job file or that client's job file, so that we know the conversation happened. Like, oh, okay, she called in and specifically said she needs, she wants the fence line to extend past her window, not to the back corner of the house now, but past the next window, because that window's a bedroom and she wants to secure. Makes sense. But, anyway.
So long story short, you're taking care of your people. You got a hot rod. Sarah's your hot rod. You're taking the back seat out and all that extra weight so she can run down the drag strip and do what she does. I like it.
That's right.
That's really needed. I think in my family, when I was in the fence business, if I'd have had that, because that was what I did, everything. If I would have had that taken care of, because some people are not good at other tasks. Like, I'm really good at certain tasks. I'm not good at other ones, but if I'm having to do them, it's like drag. It's like throwing a parachute behind me. It's slowing me down.
Absolutely. So Sarah and I had a really good conversation yesterday afternoon where, and I need to bring her on because she can better explain this. But basically, like, there are 6 channels of thought, or 6 ways of thinking. And this concept, you hear this concept a lot, but there's the wonder. So what could be these big, the thinker, right? The visionary, in another term. Then you have the integrator. You have basically these different people, different ways that people think. Like me, I love to wonder, like, what could be. I am horrible at implementation. I'm not so they call it the galvanizer. Well, one of the terms is the galvanizer. So who can galvanize all the people together, bring everyone in, like, guys, this is our mission. This is our task. Let's go. Who needs to be in on this task? Who doesn't need to be in on this task because they wouldn't love how things are going.
Right.
I'm not that. I'm not the implementator. Implementation is not my thing. I love to wonder, like, what could be, how could we do it? But when it comes down to brass tacks of, like, these are all the steps needed. We need to do this, and this. Like, I can do it, but I don't love it. Yeah. So if you keep people plugged into the ways of thinking and the ways of doing that they love, you're going to be better for it.
Yeah, sure.
But, like
it's a lesson. It's a lesson that usually comes too late, or not too late. It's a lesson that should have come much earlier.
Well, and it can come too late. How many times have we lost a rock star because they just didn't? They were a square peg trying to be put in a round hole. Where you're like, listen, I need a galvanizer. I need an implementation specialist, and you're that person. And they're like, yeah, I could do it, but I want to be the wanderer, or I want to be like one of these other roles. That's what I love. Can I do it? Yes. But will I get burnt out? Absolutely.
Yeah.
So like I said, I'm actually going to make myself that note after we get done that I need to bring Sarah on to talk about that, because we do the last Wednesday of every month. We have no production. From production perspective, we are completely closed. No jobs, nothing in the fabrication shop, so that we do cleanup, we do building tasks. We can concentrate on ourselves, right? So it's Tom Reber. A lot of people talk about, you got to get oxygen yourself before you can take care of other people. So I took that to the company perspective, where the company has to take care of itself. I'm asking for 1 day a month that the company takes care of itself. Well, on this last Wednesday, so we're going to have all of our team members go through this so that we know who is the galvanizer. Like, do we have other wanderers? Because we should put wanderers in a room and see what comes up, because I bet it's going to be some pretty cool stuff, right? But if you put an implementation person in the wanderers group, implementation people aren't wanderers. Like, they think with a different part of their brain. They don't think of what could be. They think of how can we get it done.
Right.
So
So how are you extracting this and finding out these roles? How the thought process is?
So it's a program. It's a series of questions. It's like
Let's write it down. It's not. Is it a DISC assessment?
It's similar to a DISC assessment.
Because we all do DISC assessments, and actually all the husbands and wives of everyone who works here, they want a copy of their spouse's owner's manual.
Yeah.
Because it's really good. It's 40 pages. But I'm interested in what you're talking about.
So I'll have to get back with you on exactly what it is, because this was like I'm recreating a 45-minute conversation that happened yesterday. But
right.
It's something about genius. So it's basically like the 6 levels of genius. And the point of it being is there's no one level of genius that is above or below another level.
Right.
And so it's like everyone has 6, but where do you fall on that 6? I need to chat with Sarah. So Sarah's not going to be available next weekend. She's out next weekend, but I need to have her on and chat about exactly what this is.
I used to think all this, and I think a lot of people do, they think all this stuff's silly. And I think you can take everything too far, but
sure.
A lot of this stuff, it really, really, really makes a difference, because you learn, for instance, like we do DISC assessments, and you learn quickly, why is the guy that's out in the field staining doing a DISC assessment? Because we realize how to reinforce that person, how to direct that person, how to get ideas out of that person, that otherwise you'd just be banging your head against the wall and saying, I'm doing the same thing that works with everybody else and it doesn't work. This guy's a loser, or this gal's a loser, or they're not in it. But when you figure out, oh, well, they respond to this instead of that, it gets the whole team where they can just mesh really well.
Well, Caleb, you were on the same trip I was there in Nashville, the CSA event where we went through Ramsey's place, and they have DISC assessments at every office and workstation. Yeah,
I noticed that too, and that's a big deal.
It really is. It really is.
And it's positioned right where if you walk over to their workstation, it's right. If you're leaning down to talk to them, you're looking at their DISC assessment, so you can immediately see. Oh, I see this guy.
Yep.
Get straight to the point with this guy.
Exactly. I need to not talk about feelings, not talk about fluffy stuff. I need to talk about analytics and numbers and facts.
You know how to lose me in a conversation, or a sales guy, how he can lose me. Tell me all the technical details. I want this mixer. I want my stain to mix. I've ordered mixers, and he's like, well, it does this and this and this and this. And I'm like, how much is it? Okay, I'll take it. Right. I don't care about all that. Will it mix the stain? Yep.
Yeah. Will it solve my problem? Can I afford
it? And
2 things.
It took me a long time to realize that, because I just get bored. I'm like, man, I'm just so now when guys start that, I say, listen, I'm just not a details guy. So I'm going to take you're a pro at this. So just let's move forward with it. Let's get it going.
Exactly.
And a lot of sales guys, that's part of sales training too. They think the customer wants to know all the details and know how great a company we are and all this. Sometimes they just want the plumber to fix you can fix the leak. Go in there and fix it. I trust you. I don't need your credentials. You're a plumber, right?
Right. Well, that's it. And it's funny. So when people are asking me, like, I'm not the details guy. So when people are asking me a question like, well, why does it work this way? I don't know. I can tell you it will. I can tell you it'll work. I know exactly that it will. Now, do I know exactly what the chemical compound of the oil is? No, I don't need to. I need to know it works.
Same thing with all the cleaning chemicals we fool with. A lot of guys really get deep. Like Kenny Dugan's probably listening. He goes really deep on this stuff. I used to go deep when I was learning. I don't care anymore. I know that this works. I'm going with it. And
you want to talk about a details guy? Kenny is the details guy.
Kenny's probably my favorite stain guy.
There's a handful of guys that when I see a notification of a video, I stop what I'm doing and I watch that.
I get my notebook out and I start taking notes.
Yeah, click save for later, because I'm going to watch it, but I'm also going to want to rewatch this. Yeah, Kenny is such a wealth of information, but he's a details guy.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And so this conversation is exactly what we're talking about. That you need to have each of these people on your team. You know what I mean? Like, we need a details guy or gal here and we have a few to where I go, all right, is it going to work? And they're like, well, here's the details. Like, whoa, all right, let me connect you with my details person, and you guys talk details because I need someone to just tell me it works and explain in rough terms how it works.
Right.
But you got to have a team. You do.
It's
hey,
fun,
we've got a question here. Well, first let's say hi. Sorry, Landmark Creations have been waiting for a while. Hello, I appreciate your patience and me getting to your comment.
What a cool logo.
I know. Yeah. So Landmark follows basically all the fence guys because I see them pop up in a lot of the comments. Excuse me, a lot of the comments. Them and Roger Bentoncourt is in all of the comments. So one of the supporters in the fencing industry. Chris Olson has a question. Let me show it. It's a big one. Looking to get into pre-stained fences going for my business. I just offered it to my customers, but I'm going to outsource to another staining company. Is there much room for profit if I offer it as a service, but I'm not actually doing it myself? If the staining company charges me $7 a square foot, what's a reasonable markup for myself? 10 to 20% of the total cost to stain. Was a reasonable price to expect from my subcontractor who's staining? I understand price changes in each market, so per se.
All right, I can take that one.
Yeah. So
I know a little bit about pre-staining. I've toured a lot of pre-stained facilities, and I've talked a lot of numbers with them. The going rate for high-end pre-stain work, such as siding, fancy stuff like you see in architectural stuff, is about 25 cents per linear foot. It usually doesn't matter the thickness; it matters the length. If it's a 6-foot board, that's $1.50 per board. If it's an 8-foot board, that's $2, and so on and so forth. And sometimes if it's like heavy stuff, 4x4, 6x6, they're going to charge a little more for that just because of the handling fees. But like down in Texas, 63 to 69, maybe up to 75 cents is pretty common per board for guys that are doing thousands and thousands of boards a day for Master Halco and places like that. If it's small time guys, they just negotiate on a good price. But I think anywhere between anything 69 cents is kind of the going rate down in Texas. So anything between 69 cents and $1.50, I think, is fair. If we were going to do a whole lot of it, we'd probably offer it to like $1 a board, and then to a dealer. Like if a dealer came to us and said, "Hey, we want to send you a couple of truckloads a month. What would you charge us?" $1 a board, and we would roll it out for that. And we do that, and it works well, and it leaves the contractor or the dealer enough room to mark it up, and it still comes in quite a bit cheaper than the price to go in the field and do it without the mess. But at $7, I don't know. It looks like it says he charges me $7 a square
yeah.
SFT. I don't know if that's a linear foot or square foot. $7 a linear foot is pretty average price for in the field staining. It's kind of right I would say at the 60 percentile mark. Some guys are cheaper and probably 40% of guys are more. But in the field, you're going to use about 100% more stain. You're going to use twice as much stain in the field as you do pre-staining. Yep. And you're going to have a lot of issues. You're going to have drive time and things. So pre-staining usually, in my opinion, is cheaper than that. If you're just doing a couple jobs a year, I would have no problem paying that price for a couple of jobs. But if I was doing a pretty good volume, I would want to get a little more aggressive number from my stain contractor.
Yep.
And they may not be set up to do it. I mean, they may have to charge that price. But if that's the case, you may want to look for somebody who's set up a little better to take on that role for you. Yeah.
Yeah. And if it's $7 a square foot, that is wild.
We'll do it for $5 and we'll ship it for free.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Well, so a square foot. So if a 6-foot board is 6 inches wide, it'd be 3 square foot, right?
Mm-hmm.
So okay. So let's just say 3 square foot. So he's charging now.
$21 a board in no way.
Yeah. There's no. Yeah. So
I would say he's just charging $7 a linear foot probably, which is it's not like they're gouging you, but I'm just saying
that'd be $350 a board.
Yeah. Well, that's what
So,
you're paying in the field.
yeah.
But you're paying for more stain, you're paying for preparation, you're paying for drive, you're paying for cleanup, and you're paying also a contractor needs to. You need a good margin in a business where you could have callbacks, or you could have you could damn it if you're not paying attention. So in the pre-staining has very little, I mean zero callbacks. The callback rate for pre-stain is nothing.
Hardly any. And really, let's be honest. The callbacks for pre-stain are probably not. I mean, we do them, right? But they're probably not callbacks. They probably shouldn't be callbacks.
Mm-hmm.
But you do them just to keep people happy. The big thing for pre-stain with me, for me, is that you can do it irregardless of weather. If it's 32 degrees and snowing outside, we can do some pre-stain. If it's 78 degrees but it's pouring rain, we can do some pre-stain. We can also do it on nice days.
It gives you options.
Yeah. Yep. And what's the cost of? I mean, we've talked about this quite a bit. But what's the cost of cleanup? What's the cost of washing the Mercedes next door that got overspray on it? That sort of thing.
And when he asks what is the cost, a reasonable markup. So let's run through a couple scenarios. Here's one scenario. Let's say we're in a tough market, and we want to differentiate ourselves. There's lots of things we can do at cost as a value add to gain more business. For instance, we could add post-saver sleeves to our fence at cost for a 20-year warranty at cost. We can do pre-stain lumber at cost to incentivize more sales, to differentiate ourselves. I don't necessarily recommend doing that, but it is an option that some guys do. A lot of guys will do that. A lot of guys will they'll pre-stain at cost, and they're going to do 40% more jobs than their competitors. So are they making more money? Yeah. And the other option is to say, hey, this is a premium service. We're going to mark it up. And everybody's got their own opinion of markup, but a lot of retail places want that 15 to 30% markup. So it just kind of fits your model. I like a 50% profit margin in any kind of service business. So for me, I'm just going to add that into my total cost, and then I'm going to give myself a 50% margin. So if I'm paying $1 for a board and then $1 for labor, then on the total project, then I'm going to mark it up 50%. So I'm going to go $4. My cost is $2. I'm going to charge $4. So that's just the way we would do it. I don't really mark up material or do that kind of thing. I just figure my cost, and then I figure a higher. A lot of guys will mark up their material. They'll mark this up. They'll mark that up, and then they'll give themselves a 20 or 30% margin. And that's just too. I'm a simple guy, so I just give me the total of what it costs me to do it. All right, let's double it.
Double it, and that's your number. Here's the thing too. When we're talking about markup, the way we view markup is a goal. Right. The goal is 50%.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's 46%. Sometimes, so Sarah knocked one out of the park the other day. It was like 54%. Cool.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's 42%. And it's something you can play with too. If you start at 50%, you also have some wiggle room for negotiation too. Right. If this is a project that's in a very visible area, you can put a sign on it. You know that you're going to have some marketability moving forward. Maybe it's worth taking a little bit less today, knowing that it can pay you more tomorrow.
Right. And there's going to be days where you fall flat on your face, and you need that wiggle room to, hey, we made 13% on this one because the skid steer threw a track off of it, and this happened and that happened and whatever. And we lost our tail on this one, twice as many man hours or whatever, because we had to move. There were roots from trees that were cut down and gone. We didn't see them, but there were roots there, whatever. And it happens, or pre-stain. And hey, it was a 3-story white hardy board house. The wind was swooping the stain right up into the air. And, we did that yesterday. We had to take a power washer out there, and we were spraying 3 stories up, keeping the house swept while they were staining the fence. And I used to be a fireman, and the way we would keep fire and heat off of us was, you could use the fan. Our nozzles would go a smooth bore stream, or you could open them up into a fan. You open them into a fan to keep the heat off of you. It works the same with stain. So if you're spraying stain over a fence and it's oversprays going, if you've got that stream of water going, when the stain hits the water, it falls straight to the ground.
All right.
And so we had more labor in that job because of that. But so long story short, we went out to do that job, and they saw that, and they said, hey, we're not going to do this job today. We're going to come back tomorrow, and we're going to bring a power wash rig out here. We're going to put water on the third story of this house, and then we're going to keep that wet, and then we're going to fog the backyard, and made all the stain fall right where it was, and they got in and out easy instead of killing themselves all day. But our cost was higher, but it was easier.
Sure. I want to talk about that for a second, Caleb, because I saw that come up. I saw someone mentioned that the other day, or yesterday maybe, the whole using the fan setting on your trigger setup to knock down stain. That
Probably
was
Jake Bell. He's the only guy I've ever heard of that does that.
Yeah, as soon as I heard it, like that was an aha moment. I was like, that makes complete and utter sense.
Exactly.
That as soon as the overspray hits those water droplets, it falls with the water droplets.
Mm-hmm.
Like that, I mean, because it can't get through, right?
Can't get through it.
It's just a curtain that when you hit it,
Yeah.
you can drop. Like, man alive, that makes so much sense.
Yeah, well, in the fire service, if we had a propane, like one of the big above ground propane tanks blow up, it would blow the top off of it, and there's fire shooting 50 feet in the air. You can't get within 50 feet of it. But if you got two crews on each side of you with fog nozzles blowing fog, and you're standing in the middle, you can walk right up to it and then put the nozzles right on the valve. You can reach right through, cut the valve off, and boom, nobody gets hurt. It's cool. But if you go up there and try to do it without that, it's an impossible task. So that's where I learned that. And I said, well, I wonder if this will work with staining. And sure enough, it did.
Like I said, it makes complete and utter sense. But it's one of those things you don't think about until you see it and you're like, oh, yeah, that is exactly correct.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good way to keep stain from drifting, It's not for every project, but it's a great tool to have in your tool belt. Every once in a while, you need that 7-millimeter wrench, and that's what it is.
But when you need it, you need it.
We got it. If you got it, man.
Yeah.
Isn't that nice?
Absolutely right. Mark Adams got a question. If you're installing a fence immediately alongside a neighbor's fence, do you ever get access to the neighbor's yard to do any work from the other side, or do you everything from the customer's side? Well, you usually want access to the neighbor's property. But sometimes, all right, 3 reasons people install a fence: kids, pets, and neighbors. Bad neighbors, mean neighbors, whatever. So we had a project like this. I saw it come across our Slack last week. And it was basically, I'm going to paraphrase, but it was basically, do not step on this neighbor's property. This neighbor has already called us to tell us that they know we're putting in a fence and there is no trespassing. They will call the police. We are not to be on their property. So, in a project like that, you figure out how to do it all from the.
Yeah, you got to charge a premium for that project.
Yep. Now, I talked to a surveyor a while ago. There is, and this is obviously going to vary by state. In the state of Missouri, you're allowed access onto the property for boundary issues, right? Or to maintain boundary issues. And in Missouri, a fence can be what I forget the term of it, but basically it's not a boundary marker. That would be a survey pin. Fences are no longer boundary markers in the state of Missouri, but it's like a boundary improvement or something like that. So fences can be classified as a boundary improvement. So could we have told this client, hey, guess what? We're allowed 5 foot to come in and maintain this boundary improvement.
It's the same in Tennessee. Any homeowner, anyone has the right to maintain their property. And so that, having said that, if you've got a privacy fence built 1 inch inside the line, we can go on the neighbor's property and maintain that. And there's nothing they can do. And I think years ago, we had one person who was kind of crazy like that. We knocked on their door. We were super nice. They were nice to us. after we left, they got on the internet and slammed us and said, hey, they stepped on my property. They were trespassing and all this. And I was like, this guy invited me in his house and asked me to quote his job. And he was super nice. What's the deal? You get crazy people every once in a while, but you got the right to maintain it. And I always err on the side of let's be nice and cordial and everybody. Yeah. But at the end of the day, it's like, hey, we got to build this fence, man. Come on, let's be reasonable.
Well, that's it. And that's part of the conversation too, is please understand we're just here to do our job. Mm-hmm. And our job is to build the fence. Now, our job is not to tear apart your property. Our job is not to make your life miserable. Our job is just to build a fence. So, but in this person's case, we flipped the fence around. So it was a privacy fence, went from smooth side out to smooth side in, because we talked to our client, said, listen, if they're calling us, they've already called you. And this is an issue. Technically, could we? Yes. But it's going to be miserable for you. It's going to be miserable for us, because I know the police are going to get called. If they've already told us that there's no trespassing, they're setting themselves up to call the police to say, hey, they were already warned. That's going to waste time, and that's going to be more expensive.
It's going to shut your job down for 3 hours, and the police probably don't know the law because they don't get taught the law, the way they should about weird things like that, and it's just crazy.
That's the thing is it's just an outlying issue. It's not something that's taught a lot because you don't get it a lot.
Yeah.
You don't. You're taught that trespassing is trespassing. Well, yes, but it's not technically trespassing because we're accessing it to maintain a property or a boundary line.
Well, it's like these 0 lot line houses. How do you get a ladder up on the side of that house without sticking it in the neighbor's yard? They're 7 feet apart. You got to do it.
That's the thing. So the house we stayed at in Savannah, we measured it. There was 3 foot from the siding on one house to the siding on the next house. 3 foot. Like literally the eaves were inches from touching. But yeah, I mean, you get into situations like that, I guess. But so I hope we answered that question. Do you ever get access to the neighbor's yard? Typically so. Typically we do, but occasionally.
I have seen, I remember back in the day, one of our crews had to build a fence, and the boards had to go on the outside, but they had to toe nail them from the inside through the 2x4 to put all the pickets on. And it was a tight, but the reason they did that was not a neighbor issue. It was because 2 fences were literally inches apart. And I remember we had this great guy named Mario Martinez. He's working for Matt Warner now. He's his on the road, one of his on the road crews. And Mario would always say, "Don't worry about it, amigo. I got idea how I'm going to do it." He would say that. And I remember I came and checked on that job, and he toe nailed that thing beautifully. It was strong. And I was like, all right, you did it. You made it happen. The boards are on the outside. Fence is done. So you can get creative.
Yeah. I mean, So ultimately you want access. And so 99% of the times it's not an issue. That 1% though, that's a doozy.
That'll get you.
Check Illinois laws. But understand too, like there's also the point of like being reasonable. And maybe not reasonable is not the term, but just knowing that can you do it? Yeah. Should you do it?
And sometimes you never know. You said you have to deal with crappy people. They're not crappy people. Usually sometimes it's the old lady who's scared to death of everything. Her husband died 5 years ago, and there's been somebody sneaking around her house at night, and she just doesn't want anybody in her yard. Yep. Or it's somebody who just paid a ton of money for sod, and they know your guys are going to drive a skid steer through. And sometimes it's as simple as that little conversation that, I know your yard's important, or I know we're going to take care of you no matter what. We're going to do this right. And if you have any issues, you can call me. I'm the owner. Here's my cell phone number. A lot of times you can really disarm people by saying, you know what, I'm not a bit surprised that you're completely don't want us in your yard. And I don't blame you one bit. Most contractors just do all this. But what if we take really good care of you? And I'll come and inspect this when we're done. Would that be all right? And usually it's like, all right, you guys just take care of my property, and we'll be cool with it.
Well, that's the thing. So Caleb and I, we've both gone through the Contractor Sales Academy, and one of the things that's talked about there is just putting your listening ears on and searching for the reasoning.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that's exactly what you just walked through. Like, okay, I hear exactly what you're saying. Can I ask a few questions? Was there an experience that led you to this, or like try to understand where they're coming from? Because like you said, it might be that you just had a really bad experience. Like, okay, I hear that. And you know what? If I had that experience, I would be exactly the same way. Or it might just be, no, I hate that person and I don't want anything to do with anybody that has anything to do with that person. We've worked with those neighbors.
Yeah.
Like, okay, well, I get it. And that's when it's like, but understand, I'm a neutral third party here. I'm not here to take sides. I'm here to build a fence. We can be Switzerland on this. Like, we can just build this fence and take care of both yards. Could we do that? And then sometimes like, no. Okay. Well, but search for better understanding.
Yeah.
For sure. The neighbor has a chain link fence, so at least I can nail through that easy enough. If you can reach it and the neighbor's good with it, I don't see why not.
Go for it.
Typically, we would face that fence in, though. Typically we would face the smooth side in. One, you can get the fence tighter to that chain link fence, and the long-term maintenance is easier on it. But sometimes that's not an option. So sounds like you got a plan, though. All right, Caleb, I tell you what. So the reason I interrupt conversations and jump in is because of what happened right now. Because I'm like, you know what? When we get done talking about this, I need to ask Caleb about.
Hey, look, man, look at this. I've got a brilliant memory, but it's 5 minutes long. I got to write it down. If I don't write it down, I forget things.
I hear you. So Caleb, let's talk about what's new at Stain and Seal Experts. What do you guys have going on there?
Man, we got new mixing tanks. We got new mixers on the way, which is a good thing for us. Did you get any of our small cleaners in the bags?
So you sent some.
I did.
Mandy sent some. I haven't opened them up yet. They're on my desk. The box is on my desk. I haven't opened them up yet. But I remember, like, I was so happy when you were talking about it, because I remember being like at the table at the Mexican restaurant. Like, I didn't participate a lot.
Let me grab one.
Okay, please
show you
do.
what I'm talking about.
So, guys, what he's grabbing. So, let me just tell you guys about the conversation. And the table is after Stain and Seal University. We were sitting there chatting, and we're like, what if we could have a one-time use? You drop it in, and it dissolves. Ideally for the DIY crowd, right? Or the contractors that just don't mix up big batches. If you got a small project, you only need a couple gallons of it. What do you do?
Yep. So the dilemma that a lot of guys have, they'll buy chemical in bulk, and you open it up and use it on the first 2 or 3 jobs, but it's in a power wash environment. There's water, there's moisture. The bucket's 10 feet from the deck because you might need a little more. And what ends up happening is it gets moisture in there, it clumps up. There are a lot of benefits to buying chemicals in powder because you can mix it to your desired strength. It's cheaper, etc. But you can also mess it up by getting it wet or something like that, or you can activate it. So how can we fix that problem? And obviously there were other problems too, like identification. If every powder's white and you put it in a sprayer, you don't know what you got, because a lot of guys don't clean their sprayers out. They get done at the end of the job. They throw 3 sprayers in the trailer, and then the next job a week later, they're like, what is this? And that could lead to accidents and things. So this is just a prototype. It's got a number on it and everything, and in a little silly label that we made. But this is one of our things. This will treat 1 gallon at full strength, or a half, or 2 gallons at half strength, or 4 gallons if it was a really light clean job. But we used this the other day on some jobs we were cleaning for YouTube, for instructional videos.
Yeah.
And I used these for the first time. And I thought, well, this is just really a do-it-yourselfer thing because it's really easy. After I used it, I saw that it is not a do-it-yourselfer thing. It is a contractor thing, because I didn't have to take the lid off of something, rip my fingernail off. I didn't have to say, where's the scooper at? What'd you do with the scooper, Bill? What'd you do? I left it in there. oh, it's on the bottom, so I got to dig it out. I didn't have to do any of that. I just ripped, poured it in, 2-gallon pop-up sprayer, and we were off to the races. It was so easy. So it's just another thing, that makes life easy. Is this for everybody? No, there's going to be guys who want to buy it by the drum or whatever. But
Sure.
but for your average contractor who just wants to roll out the door and grab something and go with it, it's great. And for somebody who's got maybe you're scaling your business and there's 7 guys on your team that are brand new and they really don't have that background of knowing what it is, or maybe they're rogue and you're afraid that they're, we used to have a guy that mixed, they would clean everything at like 400% strength because, more is better, right? And this is like, okay, here's your job. It needs 2 of these. Take them. Make it happen with 2 of them. And it's just a way to keep your eye on things and control things. So I think this is going to be a big deal for contractors. And I think we're going to move all of our chemicals into bags because bags really don't bust with chemicals in them.
Yep.
Where bottles do. And the UPS is they throw stuff around, it just happens. It's going across the country, things happen. So we think this will be a really good way to make contractors and do-it-yourselfers alike happy. So that's one of the things. This is old news though. That's it. So I guess the biggest newest thing is Richmond, Virginia in August. We're doing a staining university there. So that'll be fun.
That's right. I remember talking about that.
Yeah. You're coming, right?
Yeah. I've been signed up for that. I didn't even know it until I met them. And they're like, "Oh yeah, you're coming."
I didn't either, but I think it'll help some folks. So if you can make it, we'd love to have you. But we're going to do it either way.
Yeah.
It'll be a blast.
Have they set actual dates on it?
No, we haven't set dates on it yet.
Okay.
I told them that I was I will be flexible. So whatever they want, I'm just going to fly in.
Yep. I think I had a weekend in August that just wouldn't work. But
I really would like to see Richmond. It's an old town and love to see it. Maybe there's some cool Civil War stuff we can see and just enjoy that a little bit and go teach some people how to stain. And I'm just going to tell them bring your equipment and I'm going to show up and let's show you guys. Well, it's so Chesterfield Fence and More. So they're a fence install company and a supply company there in Richmond. And they got a lot of guys who buy stain from them. They keep a ton of stain in stock, a lot of stain. And they wanted to say, hey, how can we show more guys how to do this and add this to their business? Because they were just going crazy about, hey, this really changed our business. So how can we get that to more people? And that's what we're going to do. We're just going to show contractors how to do it, how to stain, how to seal, how to clean wood, how to quote, how to do all of that stuff, how to integrate staining and sealing into their fence business. So that's the idea.
I think it's an incredible. I think it's an incredible concept that to take Stain Seal University on the road. I mean, we're seeing that with the fence installation school. The AFA is taking it on the road. I mean, you and I both experienced that on how that thing worked.
Yeah.
I like that idea of making it accessible to more people. That maybe Nashville isn't an option for someone that lives in the Northeast.
You're right, and we did it last year. We had one in Dallas. COVID canceled it. We've done it in Florida. We've done it in different places, and so the road thing is fun.
Yeah,
and it takes a lot of strain. It's a huge ordeal to put on an event for 300, 400, 500 people. Next year it's probably going to be 500 people there, and doing it for free. That's a tough one. So if we can show up, they've got their own equipment there. They've got their own things. It really makes it easy for us to come out. So if you're thinking about being a dealer for stains and things, but you're concerned, like, how am I going to sell this? How am I going to show people how to do this? That's what we're there for. That's what we're here for. So if you can help us with the logistics of it, making it happen, we can come in and do it. And we can do it very well with your equipment.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because at the end of the day, you've got to use your own equipment, right? So let's learn how to do it with your stuff.
Yeah, learn on your equipment, and since your equipment is there, then you can help them troubleshoot it too.
Mm-hmm.
Or since their equipment is there, you can help troubleshoot it. Like, oh, okay, well, usually we use these settings, but it seems like on your equipment, these other settings would be more.
And it makes sense for us to drive up there with 2 or 3 trucks full of stuff. It's expensive. I can hop on a plane and I can be there in an hour, show it to you, and I can be home for supper. That's cool. That's really cool.
So one thing, after talking to Mark and Tony about, so they both got their private pilot license. That's something. It's a journey I'm going to start down here in the next few weeks. I don't think August. I mean, never say never. I don't know if August is obtainable, but like, how cool would it be? Like, I'm flying east anyway from Springfield. Like, Nashville's kind of on the way. We're just touched down. Caleb, throw your backpack in here and let's get going. And we run out to Richmond. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, Joe, I've been thinking about it for a long time myself.
It makes sense, especially like I had a 4-hour layover in Atlanta. So my first flight was bumped up, but my second flight wasn't. So it was longer than 4 hours. It was like 5.5. It was almost, anyway, it was a long time. I'm sitting there going, I could be there now. Like, I could be there right now.
So I go do jujitsu in the mornings, and one of my friends has a company. They remodeled, and build and rebuild Jersey Mike's stores.
Okay. Yeah.
And he's the contractor. They travel all over the country. And he's got his pilot's license. They got a 2-seater plane and a 6-seater plane. And he said, yeah, I had a meeting in Washington, D.C. It was like a bunch of franchises. They had a Jersey Mike's meeting. And he said, so I flew. He said it took me like 45 minutes to get there from his house, which is about an hour east of Nashville. He flew from his yard. They got a farm, took off. Huh. And he said, yeah, I was in D.C. in 45 minutes. And I was like, wait a minute, what? In 45, I don't know what kind of plane he's got. It must be pretty fast.
Yeah.
But when I heard that, I thought, man, that just changes everything.
Yeah.
That's why these corporate guys that are so big and busy and have a lot of money, they don't buy a jet to show off. They buy a jet so they can get home to their kids in time.
Yeah. Well, that and they did the calculations on what is my time worth.
Mm-hmm.
My time sitting in an airport is not efficient. It is a waste of time, waste of money. So, what does it cost me to sit here? And what is the opportunity cost? What could I be doing with my time that could be making money? It's a double whammy, right? So, yeah, I think it makes sense. So that's something
we should talk about that and maybe go down that path together. That way we have somebody to lean on when the going gets tough.
Absolutely, I completely agree. And we're close enough that, I mean, from here, Nashville is about a 45-minute hour flight.
Yeah, we could go get the $100 cheeseburger together. Is that what that thing is?
Yeah, absolutely. But I think we should look into that. But so St. Still Experts on the Road University in August. We'll bring more information on that as we get it. We should bring them on.
Yeah, Mike, for sure. Mike, if you're listening, Kim, if you're listening, Christy, all of them, let's do it. Let's get on here and talk about it.
Absolutely. You want to talk about just some genuinely good people.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of good people. I'm not saying they're the only ones, but like, so they gave me a ride back to the hotel Friday night. Me and Mark Olson both gave us a ride back to the hotel, and like that, the ride's only like 20 minutes, from Empire to the hotel.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that was an incredible 20-minute conversation. Like, they are legitimately just good people. They want to learn all they can to provide the best product to their clients. But then, so it's interesting because they've been in, and they'll probably kill me, but I want to say 7 or 8 years, right? They haven't been in the game a long time, but they're to the point. They say, A, I want to learn as much as I can, and B, I want to help everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. Like, I like that. That's where their head's at. That they're still relatively new into the fencing industry, but they're already to that point of, I want to help everyone else. I want to make this knowledge available to help everyone else because, I mean, they get it that it's what we were talking about earlier. A rising tide raises all the ships. If they can better their industry, their local community industry, then they'll be better for it anyway.
Yeah, well, a lot of people say, well, this guy's maybe not been doing something as long as somebody else. That doesn't really matter.
No.
It's like the Young Guns event we went to. There's guys who have been power washing for 30 years and they're knocking on $300,000 door. And then you see this young guy who's been doing it for 18 months and he just hit $3 million on his second year. And you're like, what?
Yeah.
So who do you want to take advice from? They both have great advice, but what did you do? What did you do to accelerate this to avoid all the pitfalls that are along the way that other people run into? So
absolutely.
It's worth looking at.
Well, and I say that just to say that because a lot of folks will say, well, I'm so new into this that I still need to figure myself out before I try to help anybody else.
Yeah, and that's self-talk that you get a lot.
It is. It absolutely is. So I just say that as a compliment to them that they're already to the point of saying, why can't we do both? Why can't we learn and share at the same time, and help everybody?
And that's where that Gestalt conversation where you said, when I faced a similar situation, here's what I did. And
Yep.
Now you're not giving advice.
Well, absolutely. And I love, to your point, the guy that's been in it for, 16, 18 months is doing 3 million. Like, I would love to sit down and buy that guy dinner to figure out how, and because when you do things for a certain amount of time, for a long time, there's some mental ruts that you're in.
Mm-hmm.
It's that whole saying that the most dangerous phrase a company can say, or the most expensive phrase, is because that's the way it's always been done, or that's just the way we do it. And you get in these mental ruts where you need a new, fresh set of eyes to say, why? Well, because that's the way it works. Could it work somewhere else, another different way too? It's the Yellow Pages. Pages built a lot of businesses.
Yeah.
But businesses today that invest in Yellow Pages probably aren't seeing that same return.
Right. I've met a guy once, and he had worked a corporate job for years, and then he started his own business. And maybe 18 months in, he was doing really, really, really well. And somehow it came up in the conversation, his business hours. He said, well, every day we close at 4:30, and I go home and I don't work anymore after that. Because a lot of people are thinking, oh, you're doing really well, you're 18 months in, you must be pulling 90-hour weeks. And he's like, oh, no, I work 40 hours. And then everybody goes home, and that's it until Monday. And you're going, well, why do you do that? Why don't you work? Well, we just always quit at 4:30 at my corporate job. So, I mean, that's quitting time, right? They didn't know that you had to work 90 hours a week, and they found a way to be super successful without putting in all the extra time. And so they must be really efficient, right? So what can I learn from that?
Well, and they're probably implementing, what we talked about in the beginning, where when you disconnect and check out, you can have better, different ideas. You can get a chance to look at things from a new perspective. So by checking out at 4:30 on Friday and not, checking back in till Monday at whenever.
They're probably not overworked. So they're fresher and they've got more ideas and things. So it's, crazy. So many ways to skin a cat, isn't there?
Yeah, there is. That when talking about different, hours and work cycles, something that's interesting to me, Sean King talks about it a lot. They implement it, is the 4 10-hour days, where they always have Fridays off. Mm-hmm. That's interesting. And they've got a day in there to where if it rains on Tuesday, they know they're just going to have to work Friday, because they got rained out they didn't get their 10-hour day.
Yeah,
that's an interesting thought too.
Because we have a business where we pride ourselves on shipping staying today. You ordered it today. It's 3:15. You're going to get it. It's going out today. How can we go to that 4-day week? Because I know our productivity will go up.
Yeah.
But how can we do it? And we're still trying to kick that around. I don't think it will work for our model. But Wednesdays are really slow, compared to Mondays, Tuesdays, and then Thursdays, Fridays. Wednesday in the material business is generally the slowest day of the week. So maybe Wednesdays, you never know.
Interesting. Well, and you might, so when you talk to Sean too, he'll tell you the production crews are 410s, but the office is open 5 days a week or 6 days a week. Like the office doesn't follow 410s. The office follows more traditional business hours. And so, yeah, it might be, it might be a mixture of those where shipping is a 5-day 5/8, but production is 410s or some hybrid version of that. And it's interesting, because I mean, if you think about efficiency, because the first hour of the day and the last hour of the day are your most inefficient hours. Mm-hmm. I firmly believe that you get the least amount of work done in the first and last hour. So if we can get more hours in between those, Well, now we're talking about more efficient hours. And so, if we're talking about 10 hours a week, the first and last hour, 5 days a week, inefficient. Now we can cut that down to 8 hours of inefficiency. What did we find? I think we found ourselves more production and more revenue, right?
And I think there's probably the thought that, hey, it's Thursday at 2:30. We got to finish this today.
Yeah.
If we don't, we got a huge job Monday. I may have to come back on my day off Friday and finish this thing. Let's go ahead and do it right instead of let's put our cell phones down. Let's maybe we'll skip lunch today. Let's knock this thing out so we can have a 3-day weekend. I mean, a 3-day weekend every week would be just the coolest thing.
It'd be pretty nice.
Yeah,
it would be pretty nice. But here's the thing, though. You and me are still there 5 days a week. You know what I mean? Like, if the guys are 410s, like, that's phenomenal.
Yeah, man. But look at what you could do for your people's lives, man. Yeah, that would be so cool.
Agreed. Well, and we're still having that conversation here on what that looks like. And it also gives the opportunity for guys to come in and work extra hours if they need to. Mm-hmm. We've got a guy that's a single dad, so he's raising 3 kids by himself. Like, if those kids are at school on Friday, like, he'll probably come in and work 2, 3, 4 hours just doing odd stuff, building improvements, or just pre-stain or something like that.
That's what I was just going to say. He's pre-staining, I bet.
Yeah, I bet so. And getting overtime. And I will gladly pay overtime because we're working ahead and we're doing stuff like that. Yeah. So it's a really interesting thought. Right now our schedule is 5 8-hour days, and Wednesday in our production schedule, Wednesday is our flex day, where we don't schedule production on Wednesday. It's pre-staging materials, or it's catching up. If it rained Monday, it's catching up on setting or working ahead on nailing. If we know rain's coming Friday, we're going to work ahead Wednesday. So from the production perspective, we're already on a 4 production day schedule, but we have that flex day in the middle.
Right.
So do you get rid of your flex day? Only have 4 production days, and then that Friday is your flex day.
Well, even a huge morale booster might be that we quit at 1 p.m. on Friday.
Yeah. Half day Fridays.
Yeah. Something like that. That's even big, because a lot of people have stuff to do during business hours that they can never get done. That Friday afternoon, man, you go do whatever you got to do, pay whatever bill you need to go down and pay that you got to do in person because they won't take it over the phone or whatever. You can do that.
Yep. Well, so our in-house crews, our in-house production crew is 6 to 2. Like, that's just kind of their production schedule, 6 to 2. It gets them out of the heat of the day, so they're back in the office, ideally back in the office by the time the heat of the day kicks in. And just like you said, if they need to run down to the utility company and pay a bill, or they need to schedule a doctor's visit, they can schedule it for 3:30, something like that. So my mind on half day Fridays goes to, on Fridays we bring in lunch. Hey, get your work done, before lunch. Come on in. We're gonna have lunch, and then get on out of here.
The heat of Friday, baby.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah,
I'm gonna pull a Caleb, and I'm gonna write the heat of Friday, and I'm gonna underline it. Okay, for heat of Fridays, that's gonna be in our next production meeting, or our next team meeting.
Hey Joe, tell me what meetings have done for your business. Have you got a good structured meeting schedule? No. Okay.
No, we don't. We need to, because right now meetings are like more impromptu than anything. And that's actually something that's on. All right, so we're taking a page out of Matt Warner's book in that. I like that.
So this I copied. I started with Tom Reavers, the contractor fight, their meeting agenda, and these are our meetings. I keep every one, and so here it is. It's changed our business. We have our own, and I fill it out on the computer. Everybody signs in. If you're late, the meeting starts on Friday. Every Friday, 7 a.m. on the dot. If you are late by 1 minute, the meeting's going to start without you. And when you come in, you've got to sing a song, dance a dance, or tell a joke. Okay. Nobody's late.
Okay.
Nobody's late. We start at 7 and not 7:05 because, we want some discipline in our lives. And so here's the agenda for our meeting. It's not perfect, but I'm going to go over it with you. So one here, I'm going to try to read it upside down. Everybody signs in. And I got it in military time. 0700 is Bible study led by Michael Taylor. That's Bam Bam. He's a Bible teacher. He teaches Sunday school and things. And we found that all our people want that. They like it. So we have so Bible study. We did John chapter 13 yesterday. So at 7:10, so that's a 10-minute Bible study. Week overview, past and present jobs, callbacks, etc. We let our teams go over that. So I'm not running it. I do very little in the meeting. All of our crews, our teams, they run this thing. They talk about what they did, any issues they had, the job they're really proud of, pictures, and we look at all our Facebook group pictures that we have in-house, go over every project, and that's it. And maybe we say, hey, this house was extra tough. You didn't see this, and here's, next time maybe you should quote it this way. And then at 7:14, we have the week overview for production, for shipping, and then any improvements we made here in the warehouse. And then the shipping department, the production, then our operations manager will go over those things. And then at 7:18 is our week overview for leads, sales from the week, any upsell reporting, any new dealers we brought on. And that one's important because a lot of guys are going home and their wife's like, hey, are you guys got fences to build next week? Or whatever. And we've heard of people quitting jobs before because they were afraid. They went and took a pay cut because they knew that guy had tons of work where they were worried. So, hey, we say, hey, we got 104 stain jobs on the books. They know they're secure. And it's good for our sales team to go over that and talk about those things. And then we got important announcements. Yesterday, I had several, but one of them was we got a new mixer coming, and then our training topic was, this may sound conceited, but why we are the best. And I went over, I led that one. Normally somebody else will lead them, but I just talked about why they deserve to be the best they can be. Joe, you deserve to be the best Joe you can be, and here's why. Yeah. And then at 7:40, it was general Q&A, needs, wants, constructive criticism, bright ideas. We kind of want there to be hard self-policing culture that we should be able to argue a little bit. Yeah. And we never really argue, but there's times where here's the deal. If everybody keeps their idea kind of quiet and they keep it to themselves and they never say at the end of the meeting, nobody feels like they were heard. Everybody's pissed off and we're doing it the way the boss said to do it. But if everybody can hear and argue about it a little bit and maybe work through this and say, okay, we've all heard everybody, but we're doing it this way because of this. Everybody seems to feel heard. They know their opinion was listened to and was valued, and we're doing it this way because collectively we decided that's the best path. So I really push that. I'm like, hey, what can we do better? What is, and people will call people out. It's not a ton, but hey, maybe you were on your phone too much this week. Work together with us and let's cut that out. But then at the end, it's Q&A. And I just put on there finish strong at 07:45. And then I put action items. And it's just things that, what do we need to do? Who needs to do it? Things like that. And then I got a notes section down below. And that's pretty much it. But this here, and I always have a timekeeper. Yeah. And then we always give away like a Starbucks card for early bird or late bird. And so I would do an early bird, like who got here earliest, three weeks in a row. And then that fourth week, somebody will show up early and I'll say, who stayed latest this week? Cause that's who's getting the card. So we have fun with it. We keep it up. We have biscuits in them, it's a fun thing, but following that hard line and having a timekeeper that says, hey, it's 7:44. You got 1 minute to finish this topic. Keeps us all on task, and it really has gotten the communication tight in our business.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was so. Sarah and I had a meeting yesterday, and where we talked about. I mean, production meetings or team meetings were a part of that because, talking to you guys do team meetings. Talking to Matt does team meetings. Talking to Sean does team meetings. So I was like, okay, guess what? We're going to look at these successful people and their successful businesses. What are some common denominators? Obviously, team meetings is one of them. because it does a couple things. Like you said, it lets everyone know, hey, here's the state of X, the state of sales, the state of our production. Here's the state of everything, so that everyone is in tune with what's going on. I like also having, so for us, we've got production, which is installed sales. We've got retail. We've got fabrication. Fabrication's making gates for installation. They're making gates for retail. But it's good to have them all in the same room, because now fabrication can hear, hey, next week we've got these projects, this project, and then go, oh, okay, what's crazy in that? Is there a big cantilever gate? Is there what's coming down the pipe that we should know is coming?
Right.
So rather than just us walking a gate slip out, be like, oh, by the way, we got a 45-foot cantilever gate, 6+3. Going to need that Friday. I'm like, whoa, okay.
It decompartmentalizes you.
Right.
And another thing that I've found, we've always had meetings. But when I started following a strict guideline with a timekeeper, what happened is, here's the deal. I love everybody in our company. And we like to have conversations. We like to talk, and we like to cut up with one another, and we laugh and we tell jokes. And if we don't have that structure, it just winds up into, we're just hanging out and having a great time, and we get derailed. So you find somebody like, I want the Nazi. I want the person who's like, all right, time. So I'm always picking the timekeeper, the one I know is going to keep time. And so I'll send you a copy of this if you want it. I mean, it's just something basic, but I think you follow that thing, and now everybody knows, hey, I gotta give my report. I gotta have my numbers on the board, because how many boxes of stain did we ship this week? I gotta have that up there. How much stain did we make? How many jobs did we get done? How many wash jobs? And so it's made it real easy to hold everybody accountable, to keep everybody on the same page. It's really good. It's a really good thing.
One thing I want to do with our meetings is I want to do project pre-walks throughs or something like that, to where when we go out, so Sarah goes out the Friday before, make sure all the utilities are located, make sure nothing's changed. A neighbor's shed didn't show up in the 6 weeks it took us to get there, whatever. Make sure there's nothing weird, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what I want to implement is, we do pictures, but I want to do a video walkthrough. Hey, because you can do videos on company cam. Here's a video walkthrough of everything. And so in that production meeting, our production meetings are going to be Friday afternoon. What did we get done this week? What's coming up next week? But I was like, I want this to be like, I like watching like war movies. So I want it to be like a war room. Like, ladies and gentlemen, this is our, Monday morning, we're going out to the Smith residence. Play the video. And we play the walkthrough video. Like, all right, questions, comments, concerns. Gate goes single gate left side, double gate right side. Questions, comments, concerns. And really lay it out. Like, here's your work order. You're going to need questions, comments, concerns. Okay. And walk everyone through exactly what projects are coming up next week. And what projects do we get done this week? Highlights, lowlights. What got messed up? Did we miss on work orders? Were we 6 2x4s shy? Okay, well then we need to. So Sarah, when we're bidding these, we know we need to add X amount of 2x4s, because if it happens consistently, we need to change something. You know what I mean? Like, I forget. I call them postmortems. Like, after the projects, like let's see what went wrong in this. Like, let's figure out what happened. I want that to be part of the meeting. What happened, what is going to happen, that sort of thing.
Right.
But I want everyone to be in a project walkthrough, like watch the video. Part of, fabrication, like, why does fabrication need to watch a project walkthrough? Because they're going to see the opening and go, okay, that's a slope. Like, I see that it's high side right. I know they're going to need a custom. We do standard gates. So
yeah, you need a rack gate.
Yeah, we got a pile of gate, not pile, but we've got stack of gates. It's 4x5, 4x4, 4x5, 4x6 for standardized openings. Well, that's going to need a custom gate. It's going to need a slope, and everyone watches the project walkthrough. I think that's going to be good. But
yeah, well, it's just finding ways to be efficient. That's our whole theme this year is professionalism and efficiency.
well,
And we just want it.
here's the main thing with meetings it's an open line of communication, right? So when we look at installed projects that lead to frustrated customers, it's typically a lack of communication on one or two of our ends. You know what I mean? The customer said, I'm frustrated because this, that, and the other. We didn't know about that. So obviously lack of communication. Now, my personality is we didn't do something right. Like we didn't ask the right questions. We didn't dive deeper into problems. We didn't do something that led us not to know about this pain point or this.
Right.
I think I forget who it is. Someone refers to them as internal customers and external customers, right? External customers being your clients, internal customers being your team members. So if we realize that communication leads to frustrated external customers, I bet communication also leads to frustrated internal customers. So I would see meetings like trying to solve for that frustration.
Yeah, it does. And it helps. And it's going to help when you get on that structured meeting. What I noticed was we're going to have breakout meetings like, hey, we need a 10-minute production meeting or we need a 15-minute marketing meeting. What happened was now that when we walk into those other meetings, we're used to that structured meeting. We get right to it. Boom, 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 boom. It's done. All right. We came in with a plan and we're walking away with a plan and a goal and a strategy to implement it and knock it out.
Yep.
It's best thing ever. And I can't take credit for that. Tom Reber talking about, he did something about the meeting and how to structure it. And it was good.
You know, it was interesting. So I did, when we were up at Matt Warner's up at Empire, when part of the walkthrough, we talked about meetings because Matt is emphatic about meetings. Like he says it's a 7 a.m. Monday and everyone shows up. Like there are no exceptions. Like everyone's got to be there and da. But then when you talk to Nathan Downs with Empire, Oklahoma, he's like, well, we don't do meetings. Interesting. So we had a conversation. It was actually out in their shop. We had a conversation like, okay, so you do and you don't. Or actually it was with Jamie, but you do meetings, you don't do meetings. Like, let's talk about that. And Nathan, like, what are the pain points of implementing the meetings? And Nathan had said, yeah, so we probably should do meetings because a lot of times there's miscommunication that a Monday meeting for them is Monday morning meeting would have cleared that up. You know, production's having issues and they're frustrated because they feel like it's a sales issue that this wasn't bid with enough hours, this wasn't bid with enough material. And so we're left to figure out, like, we're left to solve that problem where a little more work on the sales side, we wouldn't have had the problem.
Yeah. And what I've noticed too is sales and production can sometimes be sort of against one another. They can want to butt heads because why didn't they quote it this way, or why didn't they do this, or why didn't they specify that? And sometimes what you find is in the meeting when production will go over their week and maybe they'll talk about a tough job or something that happened. And then our sales staff will go, well, actually, we knew that was going to happen. It was on your paperwork. It was here. And she actually changed it a little bit because this expectation was set and maybe she changed something. And what ends up happening is we get a more cohesive production and sales team. And they go, oh, you were looking out for us on that. And the customer changed, not you. And so our team, again, becomes tighter. Yeah. And they know how to move forward.
Yeah. Well, or sales just didn't know that there was that frustration.
Right.
You know, no one talked about it. It was just a frustration on production. Like, oh, this always happens. They're always shorting us on hours. And whereas in a meeting, they could have said, hey, we need 2 more hours on a job. On this size job, we need 2 more hours to get this done really right. And then sales goes, oh, okay. Make note.
Oh, yeah. Or see this in this picture. This is hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
You see this one? It looks just like it, but you notice this little nuance? This one's easy. This one's hard.
Yeah.
Makes a difference.
Yeah. This 100-foot was flat. That 100-foot was great. The next 100-foot, not flat. It takes more time for the layout. It takes more time for the installation. It takes more time to nail it, nail everything up. It takes more time, period. So 100 foot doesn't equal X hours, or X many, or I understand Mark and Sean are everyone's going to panels. Do it, price it out by panel, lay it out by panel. I get it. But a panel doesn't take the same amount of time on flat as it does on sloped yards. Same theory applies here, right? So yeah, it's just pointing that out. It's when we're talking about what got done this week. Hey, why did we go over hours on this? Well, I'll tell you, because this and this and this and this. Okay, well, how do we solve for that? If everyone's in the same conversation, because I think you could probably have the conversation the other way too, where sales says, hey, these guys are always going over on hours. It's always apparently my fault, but like it should have got done in this time frame, but it never gets done in that time frame. And it's not my fault. They just don't get it done. Where if you could have them both at the same table, having the same conversation, like, listen, guys, you're both saying the same thing. You don't have enough hours. Production says it's sales. Sales says it's production. How do we figure this out? I think it's going to lead to a lot less frustration by having just open lines of communication.
Yeah. Well, and everybody gets to know each other better too. It's good. It's just good all around to do it.
Well, that's the thing. So this whole the last Wednesday of every month, we do the team building stuff. And anyway, it gives me the opportunity and so we bring in catered lunch. And it gives me the opportunity to sit at the same table and have lunch with guys that I might not have seen in a while. Like I said, the in-house, so Scott's in-house crews, they start at 6 and they go to 2. Well, I'm in the office at 7:30 and I'm here till 5:30. But so I miss them in the morning, and at 2:00 in the afternoon, I'm running around somewhere putting out fires. So there's a lot of time his guys, I don't see them much. I see Scott pretty regularly, but his guys I don't, and I don't like that. I like staying in touch. How are the kids? What's going on? What summer plans you guys have coming up? Just that sort of thing. So those meetings are imperative to that too. Just staying in touch with people.
Yep, I agree.
Staying connected.
It's good stuff. If you think you don't have time to do meetings, do it anyways.
Yeah, that's the thing. And that's what I'd ask Matt. I was like, Matt, so we don't do meetings, like structured meetings right now. We do, we'll have meetings, but they're very impromptu, where Sarah will pop in. She's like, I need you for 20 minutes. Let's have a conversation. But having structured meetings, I was like, how do you do it? Like I said, the in-house crews are 6 to 2. How do we have a meeting? And our fabricators are here. So one shift is 7:30 to 4. One shift's 8:30 to 5. So we can have guys here when we open at 7:30. We can have guys here when we close at 5. Like, how do we have that meeting? He's like, you just have the meeting. Like you said, if it doesn't matter if you don't think you have time, you just schedule it and do it.
Yeah.
Then everyone does it. Like I don't know how to tell you, like you just do it. You schedule the time and you figure out how to make it work.
That's the name of the game.
But let's catch up with some comments. Roger says, Caleb, this is an old comment. Roger, I apologize. This is when we were talking about the pre-portioned chemicals. You should incorporate that phrase in your marketing. Staying in seal makes your life easier. That's absolutely true. So in talking about that too, my mind's catching up with comments I was going to have that I should have written down. If I was Caleb, I would have. The nice thing too about pre-portioned is it takes a lot of user error out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So listen, I've come to work with other things on my mind, and I have, there's been days where I'm not fully present with exactly what's going on. Right. So if we're not using pre-portioned chemicals and I'm just scooping, I'm like, all right, 3 scoops, boom. Did I do 3 scoops or have I only done 2 scoops? Let's do another one just to play it safe.
Now you went too strong and you fuzzed the wood, and there you go.
Yeah, because I wasn't present because something else is going, whatever else is going on is going on. This takes that out of it, right? It takes user error out of it. I have to think it's safer also. Rather than opening up a huge tub of chemical, now you've got 1 pouch. And it's also easier to write procedures. 1 pouch equals 1 gallon. Or instead of, I can see it making sense in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it's a good thing.
Caleb, are those for sale on the on your website?
Yep. They are.
Very nice. Very good.
Picking up steam. They're picking up steam.
I could. So we're gonna do a video. So you guys sent me chemicals. It was funny. So it was at the table. I think we just wrapped up some dinner. Was Caleb, myself, and Mandy. We're all just chatting. I was like, hey, I want to do a video. I want to do a video showing this because I think it's impactful both on DIY and on contractor. Like, Caleb, can you send me some chemical? And you're like, yeah. And we're chatting for a little while, and you're like working up a text or an email. And then Mandy goes, all right, done. They're sending it to you now. And you're like, what? Well, all right. Well, I just had this whole message typed out. Like, watching your guys' efficiency is like the conversation wasn't over and chemicals are coming to you.
Yeah, when people call us, sometimes they'll call me or whatever, and they'll say, hey, I'd like to place an order with you. And I'm like, okay, what do you need? And this, and this. And I'm literally like this, okay, what do you need? And I'm like, so you can order stain by going to orders@stainandsealexperts.com. Just email your order right there.
Okay.
And so hey, I want to order 16 buckets of this, 10 buckets of that. So I'm like, all right, hang on. And I'm putting it in there. And then I've sent it. It's done. And sometimes while I'm still talking on the phone with them, they're like, so did you get my order? And they're like, oh, wait a minute. I just got a tracking update. How did I'm like, yeah, I turned it in 7 minutes ago. She's already here's the deal, man. When I was a stain contractor as an owner operator, it was me and a truck. There were times when I had to get a deposit to pay for the material to do the next job. And that happens, right? Because maybe you got 10 jobs owing you and you can't catch up with them. So some guys, they have to wait to the last minute to order their material.
Sure.
Just because that's the way it is. And if they wait to the last minute and then we delay it by 2 or 3 days, that they may not make their mortgage. They may not get the job done. They may not do this. They may not be able to get the birthday gift or do Christmas or whatever. So for me, it's incredibly important. When an order comes in, it's got to go right then and right there. And if you call me and you need stain, hey, there's a dealer 22 minutes down the road from you. Go get it. That's the fastest way. But if not, we've got to ship it. It comes down to us. And so I'm pretty, that's everybody you ask us. We are the fastest at shipping because you need it when you need it. That's important to
me. And you touched on something too there, Caleb, that I told you guys there at the show, but I'll say it publicly too. Like, your guys' tracking communication is superior to anyone else I've bought from. Not just Stain, but like anybody I've bought anything from, because you get, all right, your order's in. All right, your order's completed, but it's waiting for pickup. All right, your order's been picked up. All right, your order's in transit. All right, your order's out for delivery. Okay, your order's been delivered. Like, throughout the process, you get like 7 or 8 update emails, and it is absolutely incredible.
Well, when Mrs. Jones calls you and says, hey, when are you going to stain my fence? I know you had to order the stain, but that was like a day ago. And you're like, well, actually, it's sitting in St. Louis right now, and it's going to be in Springfield by 3 p.m. this afternoon, and we can do your job tomorrow. And that's a lot better answer than, well, I ordered it. I don't know. I mean, it might be here this week. It makes it a lot easier for you to communicate with your customers. So we communicate well with our customers, allows you to communicate well with your customers. So
that's it. Well, and our team. So as a company, when I get those orders, I'm forwarding them to, if it's a retail order, then I'm forwarding it to Candace. Like, hey, let the customer know it's in transit. Hey, let the customer know it's out for delivery. We should have it today. And then when we get the delivery notification, hey, did it show up? Remember, don't put that into inventory. Keep that up front. It is for retail, it's for
right. And if delivery schedules and things, if you're in the loop, then it makes it easier for your scheduler to say, hey, this one's going to be here Thursday. Let's move that job to Thursday, and we'll go ahead and bump somebody else up because we got that color in stock. So it just makes life easier.
Yeah,
communication.
But I want to give you props because I know that's not easy. Like, setting something like that up is not easy. So I know you guys put a lot of time and effort into that, and I want you to know like it's appreciated on.
Well, yeah, we do know that everyone appreciates that. We do know. There's nothing more frustrating than buying something and you never get a tracking, you never get an email, and then they don't answer the phone because they're busy. And then you're like on day 4, you're like, I don't even know if they sent it. And then it shows up and you're like, it makes you, back in the old days, it didn't matter. It'll be here in a couple of weeks. It didn't matter. But nowadays, things move so fast. You really need to know when your material is going to arrive.
Yeah, because then you could say, all right, so it's supposed to be here in a week. You know what? Let's schedule that thing out for 2 weeks out, and we'll surely have it by then. Mm-hmm. Well, like you said, now like your time margins are much tighter. People don't want to know what week you're going to be there. They want to know what day you're going to be there, and preferably what time.
Right.
It's a lot. Everything's evolving. It really is.
It is.
Mike's comment's been up here for a little bit, Mike, because I was getting ready to bring it up, and then we got on a tangent there that I really wanted to see through. So Mike says, work by yourself or control the situation, not the people. Absolutely. People don't want to be controlled. I don't want to be controlled.
No, I don't want to control people.
No. You
get no creativity.
That's right. Well, that's the thing. So that's something to talk about too, is that it might have been you and I had this conversation. I had this conversation there in Lincoln. It's like, listen, can I go build a fence? Yes. Do I hire people that are better at building fence than I am? Also, yes. I hire professionals. And can I sell retail? Yes. Have I hired somebody that's better at managing retail sales than I am? Also, yes. You put the right people in the right places so that you don't have to try to control it. You hire people that are better at doing whatever the task is, and you let them do it.
I love it when somebody comes to me and they says, "Hey, I got an idea," and then I'm like, "How long? That's brilliant. Let's do it today." And that's so much better than having to be the main source of all the ideas and all the innovation, because what happens is your team's going, "Man, I got this great idea, but they'll never listen to me." But if you make that culture where at least at my place, that's what we want. I want guys bringing me ideas, gals bringing me great concepts and ideas, and a lot of times we'll implement them.
Well, that's it. And I am guilty of having ideas that don't actually make sense. Mm-hmm. Where I'm like, all right, guys, this is going to be great. Earth-shattering revelation. Da 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 da. And then Sarah's like, no. Like that doesn't make sense because X, Y, and Z. Or Scott says, okay, I see where you're headed, but this, that, or I would rather them say that than us get all the way through the idea, implement it, execute, and go, oh, well, that didn't work. Like that was a horrible.
I knew it wasn't going to work.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, it wasn't going to work because X, Y, Z. Like I knew that. Tell me it's not going to work. I'm not the golden goose of ideas here. Do I have good ideas? Yeah. But do I have bad ideas? Also, yeah.
I got a few ladies around here that reel me in every once in a while. They go, that's probably not going to work. And it's good, it keeps you balanced.
Well, that's the thing is, you have blinders on, right? Because you need to focus. And so sometimes you sell yourself on the idea. Right. And you put blinders on, you're like, yep, it's going to work because you need somebody else to be like, no. You need to look over here and see this because this is why it's not going to work. Oh, yeah. Or maybe it's just like, okay, it would work better, like good idea, but it'd work better if we did it this way.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. No, that's the thing. Yeah. But Mike, you're absolutely right. You don't control people. You have a team of high performers and you let them perform. All right. Right on. Very good.
No more questions?
It doesn't look like it. So, Caleb, what would you like? Do you have anything you'd like to talk about? I'm trying to be more cognizant of the fact that I talk too much.
Let's see if I can take a request.
Do you want to put Joe on the spot for a second? We just had somebody ask if we could have a training close to St. Louis.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I've been asked to put you on the spot.
Yeah.
Somebody just messaged us and said they would like to do a training class somewhere close to St. Louis.
Yeah. Okay. I'm reading this right now so this conversation is going on right now on the Standing Steel Experts Standing University Facebook page. So the question was, is there a Standing Steel class in the summer or the fall? February just doesn't happen for this particular person. And then someone said, what is it? And we're talking about the class. The class is typically in February. Well, it was this year. Was it February last year?
Yeah, it's February every year. I got an idea, Joe. What if you had a particular fence project that came up that needed stained, and maybe it was at somewhere that could bring people to it, such as a amusement park that was closed during the day, or just some weird thing. Yeah. I would be more than willing to come up there and teach some guys how to do it if you'd be open to it.
Maybe
absolutely.
Yeah, we could do that later in the year, whatever. Put it on your radar. If you call me and say, "Hey, I've got the perfect project that we could bring 20 extra people to it, and it wouldn't matter," maybe that would work.
Yeah, yeah. I like how it actually puts me on the spot in the comment. She says, "Hey, Jim Brown is who had it. We having our big class in February. We could work something out in the late fall or early winter with Joe Everest at Ozark Fence to host a training there." Well, okay. All right. The best way to get me to do something is to sign me up for it. So that, absolutely. So yeah, let me let that tumble around in my head for a little bit. The answer is yes. Like we'll do it.
And if the St. Louis people, whoever's in St. Louis, if they've got a project like that, let's just go do it at their place. Let's just go do it at the project, and then we'll get a hotel room or like a conference room at a hotel, and then we could go eat lunch somewhere, and you can do a lot in a day.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying. So that's what's rolling around in my head right now is where can we do it to host people? So I have a buddy that has some acreage, and he has said in the past that I could use that acreage to do like video content if I needed, I have that, but like it would be better if it was, like you said, at a venue that could hold people to where we could do indoor and outdoor, because I like what you do, Caleb, in your Standing Steel University, where you'll do part of the day indoor for class type theory type stuff, and not theory, but like, you know what I mean? Process.
Yeah. So if you can find a venue that has wooden structures that need stained, it's the perfect way to say, "Hey, we will stain your fence. You let us use your grounds and your conference room," and it's a win for everybody. That's what we do with our thing. We do it all for veterans places. So
absolutely. And so it's funny that everything happens for a reason, right? So I was talking to Tony about the fence installation. I was like, I really wish you guys would do wood. Like chain link's great. We don't do a lot of chain link. We do primarily wood. It would be neat to do a wood, class. And Tony's like, okay, well, put it on and I'll show up. Okay, well, that's not really what I was thinking, but so that thought's in my head also. If it's a multi-day where one day is the fence building, similar to yours, right? That's the thing is you build it and then you stain it. Mm-hmm. And then maybe we have some older fence or older wood structure in general that needs cleaned, then stained. So basically what I'm trying to figure out is how we can recreate what you did in Nashville, like here locally, because it works. Yeah. Your Standing Steel University obviously works so well. Anyone, I don't know that I've ever talked to anyone leaving or that has been that's like, yeah, it was okay. Like everyone's like, oh my gosh, I learned so much, and like I walked away with a better understanding of the business, or I picked up, guys that have been doing it for years. I talked to that went, and they're like, oh yeah, I made this one change and it made the difference. And it's usually guys that talk to Kenny. You know what I mean? Like I'd had dinner with Kenny and I was like, oh, I was thinking about things a little bit differently or whatever. Had a conversation with somebody. Anyway, you guys do it very right. Very, very right. So can we do a fall version of that? The answer is yes, but we got to figure out where it is and what that looks like.
Yeah. So October, November, December, those are all great times to do stuff like that. So I'm into it. So here's the deal. This thing, we do it for free. Help us out. If anybody's watching, you got a venue, maybe if you're watching this on YouTube and you've got a wedding venue and you just spent all your money building the fence, building the grounds, building the things, and you got a fence that needs staining and it's not in the budget right now, but you could say, hey, how about I host you guys and you all stain the fence? Give us a call, invite us out. I mean, that's what we're looking for. We're helping these guys. We don't charge money to do this. It's not like other events where it's $1,000 to show up. We do it for free to push things forward. So if we could get some help from you guys, that would make it a lot easier for us to just jump in there and do it. And one thing I can guarantee you, all the people that show up to our events are world-class people. They're kind, they're generous, they pick up after themselves. There's no craziness. It's not our culture. We're not going out and drinking at night and acting wild and crazy and showing up hungover. Those things just don't fly. I don't participate in stuff like that. And so you can rest assured, if you're kind of on the fence about having the fence install or fence staining school, that it would be good people. We would take care of you and treat you right. So if you think you could host something like that or help with the location, you can email Joe or me at info@stainandsealexperts.com. Just put location or something, event in the subject.
I want to make this happen. I really do. So now the rest of the day, I'm going to be working this out in my mind. Like, where could we do it and how can it make sense?
Or here's another one. We just did one with Sean King. They built a fence for someone who had, I think he was autistic. It was a donated fence, and we donated the stain. Divine Shine Power Washing out of Madisonville, Kentucky, donated the labor of staining. Maybe there's somebody who is in need of something, and it's residential, but they're like, you know what? If you guys will come out and handle this for us, it would be okay if there were 20 people in my backyard.
Sure.
Because this person needs it. Maybe like you bring me a World War II veteran that's got a fence in this backyard that needs stain, we will freaking be there. And so, let's do it.
So I like that idea a lot. So where my mind goes to, so a situation like that, or like a VA hall or something like similar to what you do with the day. We've got several VA halls here. Let me start asking around. But if you guys out there watching know of something like that, say in the Midwest, right? So, this person said St. Louis area, kind of Midwest, where it's not going to be traveling across the country. A venue or of a project coming up that benefits, wounded warrior or past service member, something like that. That would be incredible to get involved.
For sure. And one thing to keep in mind, we can't do 4 miles of fence. In a free training event, but definitely we could take on a pretty sizable project with enough people there. And in fact, we normally do like 30 or 40 feet of fence. It would be good if it was quite a bit bigger, like if it was bigger, because everybody could get a chance. Let's say there were 30 guys there. I want 30 panels of fence. I want 60 panels of fence, really. So that way everybody can walk away confident and knowing that they can do this skill. So if you're out there listening,
I've got a backup in mind. So the fence is already there. It's a fence we built. It's at a hotel. And they've gotten bids in the past of staining it.
You've told me of this place, and we've considered this in the past. I'm thinking that's the backup, or it's part two. We could find a fence to install somewhere else. I would like to have an installation component to it, just because I'd like my team to get involved with other people to build wood fence and everyone learn from each other. Like Scott's worked out a really good process, but like, there could be a better idea out there, a better way of doing it. All right, let's noodle this around. But I am a big fan of this idea. We got one more question. We're over time, which typically happens. We come up with the best ideas like in the last 5 minutes. The thing about you and me generally, though, if we come up with an idea, we'll do it. So it's going to happen.
The fall thing will happen. I mean, already we've got. I know the people at this hotel, and so I know if I approach them and say, hey, we'd like to put together a class, we'd like to stain your fence for free. as long as we can put together some sort of room package, discounted rooms and stuff like that. If we could have one of your meeting rooms too, where we could host some classroom stuff and then go out and stain it, we'll stain this fence for you. That's a win-win. I mean, and I know them well enough to know I think that's fine. The only reason it hasn't been stained is it's just not been in their budget. They've been doing a lot of building and renovation, so it just hasn't been in their budget yet. I think,
and we can also, being a manufacturer, we can always bring out an experimental product and try that. We got some pretty crazy stuff right now that we do on our own jobs, and
sure,
love to try it on something different. You never know what's out there.
Yeah, that's right. All right, CJ Jones says, what type of nails and nail gun should I purchase to do routine maintenance, reinforced planks on my wood fence? Also, is there any method by which I can tell what type of wood my fence is made of? Well, so we use Hitachi guns. Actually, there's something else now. Shows you how long it's been since we bought guns. All of our guns are Hitachi, but they're called something else now. I know that's not helpful.
Don't you have to use Hitachi nails with Hitachi guns?
No,
really?
I mean, they work better when you do. But we're using a Bostitch nail right now, of all things. Like, why would Bostitch make a nail? But it's a Bostitch nail. But some of the off-brand nails. So we tried shooting a nail that the fastener company said was made by the same company that makes the Hitachi nails. And they just didn't. It was always like the last 30, 40 nails would jam and double fire. And I think it's because the coil gets so tight. So all of these are coil nails with that metal rod support.
Mm-hmm.
And that I think it's that coil gets so tight that it just leads to feeding failures. But yeah, Bostitch makes a nail that we like. We use it quite a lot. Ring shake.
You're using what, an 1 5/8 ring shake for your pickets?
Yeah. That's spot on. Yeah.
And what are you using for your framework? 3-inch?
No, so we use 2.5 inch.
2.5?
Or 2 and it's not 2.5. It's like, yeah, so basically 3 inch, like 2 7/8 or something like that.
2 7/8, yeah.
Yeah, because it might be a 2.5. I'll have to go double check. But because your 2x4 is actually 1.5 inches, and then you want to get good penetration into the wood. So we haven't used wood posts in quite a while. So that's why I'm not as up to date on. So we'll use a Postmaster Plus post, and then we'll use a 2.5 inch or a 2-inch screw on, or 1 7/8 screw. Again, I'm not the details guys. I got guys that do the details.
They're over in a box over there. You just put them in the gun and you just shoot, and it goes. I agree.
That's right. So from my perspective, I know when we're down to 1 row on the shelf, I call the fastener people and I tell them to bring 3 more rows. But also, is there any, Caleb, what do you think as far as knowing which type of wood? So say like once it's gone totally gray.
Yeah, so you just got to get good at identifying grain patterns. Like the background here is Western red cedar, and you'll notice the knots are different. These things are different. Yeah. You can identify cypress, you can identify redwood, Eastern cedar. Just spend a little time looking at. Probably the best way is to look on the internet at new fences,
at different examples.
Yeah.
So for our market, it's predominantly either treated pine or Western red cedar, and those are 2 different shades of gray. Treated pine is usually a dark gray, where cedar is typically more of a silver gray. Mm-hmm. That's how we identify it. But I understand, CJ, that like if I were to go pull one of our new guys and take them out to a job site and be like, "What kind of wood is that?" They wouldn't have any idea, just because they haven't seen enough to know. Oh, okay, that looks darker. It's probably treated pine.
Well, another way too is Western red cedar. Not all the time, but you get a lot more chance of, if you look at a variety of boards, just like the center board, you see how it's really super dark. That board has really, really, really tight grain. That's an old piece of wood, where if you go over 3 or 4, it's got really wide grain. That's a younger piece of wood, or it's being cut through at a certain spot. Typically treated pine, this is usually a pine or cedar conversation. So I'm going to refer to pine and cedar. Usually if you start going down the line and look and you go, oh, there's a really tight grain board. Oh, there's another one. There's another one. And if you're looking at treated pine, usually you don't see the tight grain because it's fast growth. A lot of it's Chilean pine or it's southern yellow pine, and it's got wider grain because it's a younger tree. And usually that's a good indicator that, hey, 97% of this fence is wide grain. And then the one next door, 50% of it has pretty tight grain. Well, the one on the right's pine, the one on the left's cedar.
Yep, absolutely. So I think a great way of doing it would probably be to go to your local home improvement store, and just check out the lumber section. That'll give you an idea of what lumber is being sold. Now, typically like a fencing contractor wouldn't buy their materials through like Lowe's, Home Depot, Menards, but it gives you an idea of what lumber is available in your market. So you can visually see, like sometimes it's hard to picture wide grain versus tight grain. If you haven't seen it, like I can visualize what you're talking about, but if I hadn't seen it, I would say go put your hands on lumber there at your local store just to see what the differences are.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'll do something. I'll show you here.
Okay.
Let's see. I'm a stain guy, so I've got wood everywhere.
Of course.
All right. So let's do a test. This is obviously not black. But look at that grain and tell me what you think that is. This is stained.
Okay, yeah. So it's stained. So it's probably cedar. It looks like spider grain.
You see the lines?
Yeah.
I mean, there's like 100 years in this piece of wood because of all the lines in it. That's really tight. That's really tight grained cedar. Here it is again. Here's more cedar. You can see the grain lines. They're going up and down, and they're really, really close together. Cedar, again, it's really tight grain lines. Now, look at this one. See how wide the lines are? There's 3 lines in this one. There's 73 lines in this one. This one, this come out of a rainforest in Vancouver, Canada. This come out of South America maybe or wherever. But it's really wide. Yeah, the growth rings. This is pine. And then here we go again. This one, wide grain, that's pine. And what do we have here?
Yeah.
It's hard to see. There you go. This one is actually pine.
Oh, really?
But look, there's a lot of rings in that, but they're wide. They're an 1/8 inch apart instead of a millimeter apart. When we go back to some cedar, you can see, if I get the angle just right, you can see the lines are twice as far apart or 3 times as far apart in the two. So pine and cedar are definitely different. And then we got a piece of this right here. You see the grain, the lines on that. So here's what you're looking at. When you turn it sideways, see the rings? Mm-hmm. So that's what we're looking at. This is sort of a wide grain, but this is redwood.
Redwood.
And redwood is some of it's really wide, some of it's not. It just depends. It depends on the piece. Yeah. And here's another one that I'll throw in that is different. This is our slate gray. You can see the lines through here. Mm-hmm. This is Japanese cedar.
Okay.
Yeah. And it usually falls somewhere in between. It's got similar grain pattern to Western red, but it's fast growing. So the rings are further apart.
A little bit further apart.
And if nothing else fails, one thing that never fails is scratch and sniff.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's Western red cedar,
you
scratch it, you'll know it.
Smells like a cedar chest.
Yeah.
All right, a couple more questions. Collins Outdoor said they just PCS to Fort Leonard Wood in our backyard. Welcome. I bought a house with an older 6-foot privacy fence in Waynesville. The yard is pretty steep grade. I'm going to attempt to redo very soon. Send prayers. Absolutely. Well, and just think about this. If you get the steep part done, the rest of it's gravy. CJ Parton said, pardon if you guys already answered this question, tuned in late. Are you saying that you guys travel to various areas or only specific areas, potentially the Cleveland area? So typically there's one, and it's in Nashville. But now we're having conversations about doing it in other locations.
Well, yeah. We've got plans to do them all over the U.S. It just takes time. And here's the deal. Like we talked earlier, if you call me and you say, hey, I've got a venue that has 75 feet of fence. It's got a pavilion that we can sit under. It's got hotels close by. If you say, hey, I've got, that's half the battle, right? That's the hard part,
Right.
securing
Right.
the venue.
The
If people can call us and say, hey, we got a venue over here. It's got a brand new fence. It needs stained. And I'm a fence contractor and I got a bunch of fencing friends you can bring, we'll come and do it. But if we got to, the thing is, Joe, I don't know St. Louis, so it's going to be really hard for me to start calling around in St. Louis to find a place. But you live there and you've drove by this place. Why don't you stop in and ask them,
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is, like, I know this hotel just because, I mean, I've had interactions with them about, we built the fence. We've talked about staying. Like, I know it. And I know a few other places that I drive by every day. But if I said, hey, Caleb, come to Springfield and do this, you'd be like, oh, well, where do we even start? Like, I don't even know where to start, who to talk to, or anything.
Yeah, it's all about knowing people. So, yeah, Cleveland, Ohio, I will. We stained a couple, 13,000 foot in Akron, Ohio, not too long ago.
Okay.
I mean, we'll travel anywhere.
Yeah. Cleveland's a big orange town, so I'm good on coming to Cleveland.
Cleveland's not far from me either. It's not terrible. Now,
I went to a conference there. The Customer Service Revolution was in Cleveland a couple years ago. Nice town or city. I love it. Michael Taylor says, ready to go. He's packed up and ready. CJ Jones says, thank you. You're very welcome. Roger Bencourt says, got to go, gents. Grass is tall as me. Thank you both. Thank you so much, Roger. Well, guys, I think Caleb and I could talk for a few more hours, but I think we better cut it off here. The nice thing is, since Stain and Seal Experts sponsor the channel, Caleb comes on once a month, and we talk fence and stain and business ideas monthly. We've got it on our calendars. We do it every month. So
let's do it again soon.
I agree. It's one of those things where I walk away with notes and with little gems, and I know if I do, then other people out there have as well. So, Caleb, I appreciate your time. As always, I tell you this quite a lot personally, but I'll say it publicly too. I appreciate you, taking a chance on a new channel and coming in to sponsor the lives. I appreciate that a lot.
Well, Joe, man, I appreciate it too. You're helping a lot of folks, and I think they all love you for it, and we love you too. So, if you need anything, holler at us and go to stainandsealexperts.com and go buy stain from Joe. He's got it right behind him there, the orange.
Yeah,
stuff.
That's right. We got the logo here behind us. We also have a link to Stain and Seal Experts in the description below. So you can click on it and you'll be taken directly to the store.
Awesome. And if you're a fence company and you don't know, you're thinking about getting into the staining business, go to Stain and Seal Experts YouTube channel. We just did a 2.5 hour webinar the other night that spells out everything, pricing, procedures, advertising, marketing, you name it. You could go. It's all of the things that I've learned over the years that I wish I would have known on day one, and you can know it on day one for free. So go check it out.
Yeah. So what I'll do, guys, so come back to this video later on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go downstairs and I'm going to add the link to that YouTube video in the description below. That way, as people watch this, they can just click that. But as you guys are watching this live, you're on YouTube now. Just up in the search bar, just type Stain and Seal Experts University. Is that that's the name of the channel?
Yeah, just Stain and Seal Experts is our YouTube channel.
Yep.
And it'll be webinar. It'll be titled webinar. So check that out. All right, man.
Caleb, thank you so much for your time.
Yes,
I really appreciate it.
Thanks. We'll see you.
Have a good one.